And she said,
But
yeah.
dude, I had pork chop for dinner last night and then again tonight. Oh my gosh, freaking amazing! I haven't had I haven't had pork chops. I haven't had like good pork chops in so long. Oh, Mhm. Yeah. Ooh, nice. There you go. That's the real sign right there. Is if you take home an empty pot. Yeah. Ooh, interesting. Now I have to ask. Nice. Now I have to ask. With your chili, do you put beans in your chili? Oh, Ash, no.
Yes.
That's not the Texas way.
You do the kidney beans.
No. No. I'm sorry. I would eat
Um,
it, but my mom raised me from an early age. Real chili does not have beans.
mhm.
And they're all inferior to any Texas chili. Mark my words. I mean, that is true. That is true. No, yeah, no, yeah. Liar! The only people from Texas will really say that though. Like I only hear about it from my mom or family who live in Texas. They're the only ones that'll say that. Like if I don't see I don't like chili on hot dogs. I know. And I love Sonic the Hedgehog, but whenever he eats a chili dog, I'm like, dude, that's gross. No, chili is for Ritz crackers, man, or cornbread. You just put Yeah, I like to like dip Ritz crackers in it, like chips and salsa, but Ritz
Uh,
crackers and chili. Oh, Fritos too. Oh yeah, Fritos. Do like a Frito pie type thing with do some like grilled onions on top of it and then some shredded cheese. Oh my god. Yeah. Yeah. Ooh, interesting. The structure is kind of similar. Like like foundation, like the Fritos at the foundation, then you do the chili and the cheese on top. But I've never heard of that. That sounds I thought you were gonna say you put the chili and cheese and stuff in there, and then you like grip the opening of the bag real tight and you shake it and get like all the Fritos coated with the chili and stuff. I would try that. You don't need to. No. Yeah. 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 Every month, we're going to a once monthly stream.
You notice I just let you guys talk about your chili. I'm just quiet because I know we're going live soon.
I have no aversion.
I am Danny Tanner online.
Danny Tanner. Was that
Zach, do you not know who Danny Tanner is?
is that Bob Saget's character?
Yep,
Is
exactly.
he Danny? Okay.
I am all filtered when on live, but I'll
Behind the scenes, you have the dirtiest sense of humor, dude. Bob Saget. When I found out the dude, like his sense of humor and how like raunchy he really was, I was like, oh my god, like he was like one of America's dads. I was like, oh my gosh, that's insane.
Bill Cosby too. What's going on?
Bill Cosby had other issues. I actually saw a DVD set of the Cosby Show earlier today. I was at a thrift store, and I was like, man, I miss watching the Cosby Show. I know he's got his issues now, but like for what it was, the Cosby Show was genuinely good, wholesome entertainment.
I'll never look at Jill the same.
Wait, who?
Jello.
Oh, Jello. Oh, yeah. Man, I miss that show though.
Speaking of chili, I actually I got the chili from Wendy's. Got the family size. Really-
See,
I love that.
something about Wendy's chili always tasted weird to me. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I like Wendy's the barbecue sauce that they have, like with the fries or the chicken nuggets. Something about their barbecue sauce. There's like an extra zest or something in it that's really good.
I get the extra cheese and extra onions,
Mm.
and then I get
What is it? It's not bad. It's
they do and
fake.
meat.
Fake chili.
You know what? You're fake.
Yeah, you know what? I'm I'm part real Texan. I'm half Texan. I'm half Louisianan, half Texan. More Texan than either of you two,
Well,
as far as I know. Okay. I wouldn't mind moving to Texas. Oh, it depends. It depends where in Texas. I'm not moving near the border.
that
Moving
couldn't
to
handle by the border. Too many people of color.
Aw, boo. It's not the people of color. It's what their true intentions are.
It's the color people.
God dog it. No, I lived in Texas for a few years after graduating high school.
And then they kicked you out.
No, no, they didn't kick me out. I worked for my grandmother. She had a coffee house at the time, so I was like one of the lead baristas there. And then she ended up selling the coffee house because it didn't do very well in this small town of less than 10,000 people. And so I just moved back home. Actually,
I don't know.
I went to go see her over the summertime. She was like, "You want to move back?" I was like, "Do you have another coffee house?" She said, "No." I was like, "Eh."
I just feel like like I want to go. Everybody says like, oh, Texas is awesome, all the freedom stuff, But
Oh, it is.
I feel like most of the assholes just live there. They just brag about stuff. Oh,
I didn't notice. I mean, the worst problem is the giant semi trucks on the highway because they feel like they
I
own the road. But that I feel like that it's like that anywhere though.
I just feel like, and I don't know how many people are online presence or actually from Texas, but it just feels like people are just bragging. Oh yeah, we got the best state ever. We can do this here. No one's like, no one gives a shit. Shut the hell up.
I never really encountered that. Like everybody I met was really nice. I mean, there were some people that like because this was around the time like Katrina was much more recent, and so people would ask me like, "Well, how did y'all manage to do with that little storm?" I was like, "Really? Katrina was a little storm? I mean, out in this place that like only sees rain a handful of days a
I, I,
year."
I mean, like
But
Texas is like the only state you can drive halfway across and run out of gas and have to fill up 3 times.
This is true.
Uh,
Texas is a
uh,
freaking huge state.
but I mean, like you, Texas is one of the hottest places to live in, other than Arizona. Uh, their hottest summers. But if you live in where you are in Louisiana down there, you're like little Australia.
Well, see, the thing is, there's parts of Texas that are exact. Like, I can drive 3 hours from here, and I can be in Houston, and it's the same weather, same climate,
It,
humidity, everything.
I just feel like like you guys have just so much thing that wants to kill you in Louisiana.
Oh, Texas has the same amount of things. They have more snakes. I feel like they have more poisonous snakes than Louisiana does. They
You're bugged.
definitely. I mean, look, they have special guns. It's like a little two shotgun shell pistol that people will carry if they're just like out walking to their mailbox because rattlesnakes are just everywhere. So, I mean, there's stuff out there, but it's fun though. I enjoyed living out there. I'd consider moving out there
I
again
feel like the
under the
rattlesnakes
right
would have
circumstances.
like Texas is so pro gun to leave the rattlesnakes have guns. Yeah, they have shootouts.
Even the rattlesnakes.
But you know what I mean. It's like well, I guess you could say that about not just the Texans, but anybody in the states. It's the people who are really into the big college football states. Those
Oh,
are the people. Yeah,
Louisiana is a big college football state, though.
Louisiana. Yeah,
Anywhere with the SEC, there's the rest of college football, and then there's the SEC. Like they just do football different.
like I'm to the point where I'm just like, okay, I want to know. Do you have my essentials? The gas station that actually has a bathroom I can actually not worried about being abducted in? It's, or like
I don't know who's
or
abducting 30-year-old men up there in your state, but we don't really have that issue down here.
meth heads, bro. Uh,
I guess that's yeah.
like I want to be assaulted in the bathroom, or either by cockroaches or by animals living inside. Like
But you
you
know
go.
what? In Texas, and I think in Louisiana, there's no conceal. Like you can open carry. So if anyone tries to mess with you and you're open carrying, it's a deterrent right there.
I go in the Illinois, which barely recently just said that they outlawed guns. You're not allowed to own a gun in Illinois anymore.
Yeah, that makes
But
sense.
but they're
Chicago and Illinois.
I'm well, yeah, but I'm
Yeah.
nowhere. I went to Joliet, Illinois, which is nowhere near Chicago. It's about a 2 hour drive from where I live, and their bathrooms are locked. They have bulletproof glass over the counters, so
Gee,
basically to protect the gas station clerk. It's like I'm not in Chicago. I'm like this is the nicer part of Illinois. You get out towards the sticks.
unfortunately, if you leave a tumor unchecked long enough, it will spread.
No, but like I said, it is just one of those things. Like I always think about. It's like going on to like you go down to Georgia or Atlanta or in those even Carolina. It is crazy how these Democratic controlled states. And I apologize for getting political on it, but it's like you think about like the movies like The Hitcher. It's like these are thoughts that come to my mind. Like, no, there's no way this could be possibly be real, but because Hollywood's fake. But no, I would not want to be caught dead in a gas station in either outside of New York, but anywhere in the deep South.
There's actually, I mean, a lot of I mean, obviously, there's going to be some places where you have to be mindful and watch your surroundings. But I feel like a lot of the Deep South is mischaracterized in Hollywood. It's a lot redder than people want to admit to. Like, obviously, Atlanta, I know, goes pretty blue. But
I
like
mean,
overall, like I think Louisiana is the only blue state on the Gulf of Mexico. And the crazy thing is, the population votes overwhelmingly Republican. We just managed to keep a Democratic governor because he's Catholic. That's the only and he says he's anti-abortion, but he hasn't
hey,
really done anything to stop
I
abortion.
mean, you guys got some weird.
Yeah, the major cities like the capitals. Yeah, that's it. The whole rest of Georgia is red, and Texas is like yeah, and Austin. I feel like Austin too. Yeah, but no, it's not as big as Houston or Dallas. Yeah.
Yeah, I will say this. Funny that Rager brings it up. Telling me to stay out of cities. Anybody who lives in large cities, get out of there with what's going on with Israel. You're going to see this with how all everybody come across the border. How much you want to bet? How much Hamas is already in here planning something? So I'm just saying, get out, get out of those big cities. Get some guns.
I was about to say you're in San Diego. Yeah. You're
you, you won't. There won't be World War III, but there will be a terrorist tax. No.
hey hey Ash, Rhaegar is saying they can't hear you on YouTube.
I said my voice was back. It was gone before, so I don't know.
Yeah,
Oh man,
Bakeman's voice is
there we
not
go. How
back,
about
but
that?
keeps only hearing me for a second.
I think
I
I
don't know.
probably hear me now. So I guess they missed the announcement. I guess they figured out you guys were talking though, so that's all good. This is the this is Ash on Comics without Ash. Um,
Yeah, sounds by the feds.
silenced
There you
by
go.
the
Yeah,
feds.
you're back on. I just heard. I was
So,
listening,
yeah, no,
and the
what I was
YouTube
saying
delay
with the
messes me
people
up
that didn't
every time.
hear, I was just basically saying, yeah, Putin made an announcement like the past couple days about how his missiles on standby. Like if one rogue NATO missile comes into Russia, he's going to launch it every single one of his enemies. Basically, inferring the way I took it was going to just be like his whole arsenal, just assured mass destruction. Um, and look, maybe he will, maybe he won't. It could be a bluff, but at this point in time, the way we're behaving as a country, I mean, he doesn't. We're backing him into such a corner. Like it's so stupid what we're doing. Um, we're backing him, and it's like, what does he have to lose? Either we come in and we take over the country and murder him, and do the things that we do, or he completely annihilates us and he dies anyway. Like it, I don't think I don't want to think about such things. Like it's pretty horrible, but yeah. Anyways, we've been obviously thinking about World War III since the '60s or the '50s, so it hasn't happened. But the doomsday clock has never been closer, and we got a
Everyone's
mad not a madman, we got a imbecile dementia patient with a finger on the
everyone's
button.
still Marania. She's saying everyone's voice is cut in and out. Nothing from Ash at all.
Should be I should be you should hear me.
I don't know.
Hmm.
Yeah, I hear you fine on YouTube.
You hear me on YouTube? Okay, cool.
I'm hearing you fine.
All right, I haven't brought up
And
YouTube to test it, but if you
the only cutting in and out that I hear is Venkman's normal. Like he hits like a high blip and then he goes back to normal. I think that's just Discord though.
All right, I guess I hear everything fine on there. I turned the volume up.
Rhaegar
Yeah,
says we can hear us all now, so I
yeah, I
apologize for
think
the
we're good.
technical difficulties. That's just the way we roll. Um,
Uh,
anyways, I
if you
was just
guys,
trying to make a lighthearted joke about living in San Diego, little gallows, well, not gallows humor, black humor about living like
ooh,
right next, like with several naval bases here. If
wait,
if there is
wait,
nuclear, attacks, I'm gonna be hit. I'm gonna be right in the what's the ground zero?
Blast
That's the term.
radius.
I'm gonna be like right in
oh,
ground zero.
oh,
So,
Zach, you start out here. I was afraid you were gonna leave when you said black humor.
ooh.
God help me. I don't have enough alcohol in my house for that type of humor tonight. I'm gonna try
Wait,
though.
wait. You need alcohol to deal with black humor.
I need alcohol to deal with your jokes about black humor.
We're all just quiet now.
Okay, I was about to say, what just happened? Did everybody disconnect? I was like, that is really weird. Should I say something?
I walked away to grab something, and I was like, "Wow, they just stopped talking."
All right.
Yep.
Speaking of talking,
Crickets.
and speaking of Texas, we got a
We still
feature
got
book.
25 minutes, sir.
We got a feature book tonight.
Woohoo.
Sorry, by the way, anyone listening, the missing last week. That was my fault. I had things going on, and I couldn't make it happen. So I apologize.
What was Zach?
Um,
What was it like having a night off and go to bed early?
Oh my god, it was amazing. It's what I imagine parents feel like when their kids are out of the house and they're able to just sleep uninterrupted.
don't make me feel guilty.
I'm just kidding. It did kind of throw me off because when I woke up the next day, I was like, what day is it? Because the night before didn't feel like a normal Monday, so Tuesday morning didn't feel like a normal Tuesday.
So we're gonna talk about some comic books
Woo.
on the late night comics show. I know you guys begin to doubt us, but it's true. We do talk about comics from time to time. I gotta just say, guys, there's a lot of, in the comic sphere, the social media sphere about comics, there's always that black pilling and there's a lot of bad comics and there's a lot of bad things in the industry right now, but the comics we're talking about on the show right now, like there's some really good comics. Now, granted, it's not a ton of them, but the two we're going to talk about tonight, I think, are fan freaking tastic. I mean, I think these comics are as good. Like, if I pull any era of comic history, and I was like, this is something I like to do, is take a comic and go, if I could put this in any era, would it stand out, right? And I think that these books would stand out in any era. They're that good. The books we were supposed to talk about last week, was it Void Rivals and what was the last week they missed? Void Rivals and Firepower?
It might have been because I think they were both Kirkman books.
Yeah. We'll mention those when we get back to the next issue in the episode. So we'll cover those. But
I have to read Firepower. I never even read it.
you've never read
Just skipped it.
Slacker.
No, I skipped it last week because I was like,
Slacker.
never mind. So there's
I'm
Bankman
waiting for the
trying to
last few issues. I'm waiting for the last few issues to binge read it.
but we got those books. We've got Mark Millard is knocking it out of the park with Big Game, pun intended.
And leaving me to wait for a month in between issues. Darn him. Darn that man.
Newsflash, Zach, comics have been a monthly enterprise for almost a century.
It was only like 2 weeks of waiting between issues 2 and 3, and now I gotta wait 4 weeks.
I gotta wait a month
Tragedy.
between comic issues. Like that's like not been the
I know,
thing forever.
Flash kind of spoiled me. I got used to 2 Flash issues a month.
I'm
Thanks,
so
Jeremy
oh man,
Adams.
that DC, that was one of the things that DC pushed me away with, was their bi-monthly issues.
I don't mind it if it's a good run. If it's a good series,
It was too expensive, man. I was like, man, I'm only getting 10 DC issues, but they're bi-monthly, so it's actually 20 issues a month. I was like,
But
oh.
if it's 10 good DC issues, then
Honestly, it was great for me because I was just getting Flash out and maybe a little bit of Batman. But other than that, it was just like, it's awesome.
Look, I don't mind reading a lot of good comics, but there is an expense, and I'm willing to wait. And man, I just went to the comic book store Wednesday, picked up my books. I spent $77, and I was like,
Lord,
God.
man.
Yeah, and that
Only
was right
77?
after putting $65 in the tank, which some people might be,
Good
oh, that's not.
Lord, man.
Some people might say that's not that much, Ash, and I go, yeah, but I had a quarter tank already, and it was $65.
I've seen,
and that was at
gas
Costco
pumps in San Diego. It's
over $6 a gallon out here.
Jeez. We just got under. We're like right under $3. We just sank to like $2.99.
Oh my
It's over
goodness.
9,000.
Yeah, we're over 6, but we're
Oh,
in the land of Gavin Newsom. But
I'm a
so,
little
anyways,
over
I
$3.
spent $65 there. I had to buy some work stuff at Costco, so I spent like $80 there, and then I went to the comic book store, and I was like, ugh, it just hits you like this stuff is not free. And I've been like slowly over time dwindling my pull list to just try to get the creme de la creme books. And so I was
Yeah.
like, I'm going to show up. I only got a couple books. It's been several weeks since I've been to the store, but if I'm pulling a couple books a week, I was like 77. Oh, oh. It's like, ooh,
Yeah, that's a lot.
yeah.
That's a
So,
lot, sir.
yep, I don't like doing that. It makes me question my choices. But this is a good choice. This book, I almost didn't pick it up. I almost not this issue 3, but just the book in general. We've talked about this before because of Eric Breen. Um, and I was like, Eric liked it. It is that Texas Blood, which I liked, so it's connected. I'll just keep collecting it. And it's been super solid. I think this is better than that Texas Blood. Um, so um, Eric says bi-weekly. I probably said bi-monthly, and maybe he's correcting me.
Isn't it the
Um,
same thing?
no,
Twice a month.
bi-monthly means every other month. Bi-weekly
Well,
means
then
every
just
other
say
week.
every other month.
I like
No,
these
no,
bi-yearly books.
no. I think I said bi-monthly when I meant bi-weekly. I'm
Uh,
I'm just guessing at why he commented that.
I'm
Um,
just guessing. I don't care. It's pointless.
well, you may not care about the people in our chat, but I do. Eric,
I care.
we love you, and Zach loves
The
you,
people,
but
the
RDV
people in
hates
our
you.
chat they're all fake. They're not real people.
Just like
Oh,
chili with beans.
Indie
Wow,
brother
Zach.
Ash, she says. Indie brother Breen. Yeah. So this book, Enfield Gang Massacre. I know a lot of people are probably going to look at this from the covers and just be like, "That's not for me." Western, just it's got a weird name.
Good
But
writing is not for me.
well, you
I
don't
mean,
know
to
it's
be
good
fair,
writing until you read it.
everybody.
So,
Yeah, I was about to say, if you just look at it and you see a Western, like, shockingly, there's a large number of people out there who don't like Westerns.
right. I mean, and look, I'm one of them. Like I said, I almost didn't pick this up, and it's just I was like, it's gonna be a Western, and I'm not anti-Western, but in a comic book form, I've never had a Western comic really wow me, like so here it was, but it's fantastic. I love everything about this book. I love it. This little opening credits where they do like the fake ad for the guns. I love these painted covers. I love that they're what do you call these?
Connecting.
Connecting covers. Thank you. Um, I love that they're connecting over multiple issues. I hate when it's like one single issue has connecting covers and it's like so you got to buy multiple copies of the same issue. I hate that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Um,
weird.
also these aren't like variant covers. You don't got to go buy the variants. It's just this is the normal cover, and this is everything about this book is like how you should do comics. Another thing about this book, which I didn't immediately realize because I read my books digitally, this book is a phenomenal physical production. The paper that they use in this book has a
Yep.
certain like rustic feel to it. It almost is like if you ever pick up like an old Silver Age comic and the paper's kind of yellowed and
It's kind of newsprint.
yeah, and but it also has like a yellowed feel, like the whiteness of the paper has lost its and this book has that touch and it adds to the feel of the Western motif of being like older. It's just this is the kind of comic if you're a fan of comics and you're a person like I like the physical comics, I like everything about it, this duo is delivering to you. And on top of that, they're giving you amazing writing, in my opinion, really standout art. I I just cannot hype this book up enough. Um, so I guess let's get into it. Does anyone want to do the synopsis, or would you prefer me to do it?
I say you do it. I nominate Ashron Comics for synopsis teller.
All right.
Yeah. Unless you want to mute your mic so that it can't hear you more. But
To do the whole thing in silence. Um, all right. So I'm not going to really cover what's happened before because we have on the previous episodes of the show. And if you guys don't watch them, I'm sad. But here we go. Chapter 3, The Rooftop Gambit. So the Enfield gang is caught at their little hideaway, um, and the Texas posse has caught them unawares, killed some of their men, and so now they're kind of they're hiding because there's like sniper positions have them pinned down, and so they're trying to cut the horses down. And one of these characters, I forget her name, but she's really good with knives. She throws the knives and cuts. It's a really good throw, by the way. But she cuts the ropes. The horses get off, and when we cut over to the posse, and if I'm going to critique anything, the one little critique I have of this book is that it was a little bit hard to follow some of the characters.
Really? That's the
Following, and
sheriff first.
what I mean by it is follow kind of the identities, and maybe it's just because I'm spoiled and I'm lazy. Maybe it's because I had to read the book quickly because of getting ready for the show, and I was behind. But part of it's like the coloring, like they don't differentiate the looks from some of the like some of them, like the Texas Ranger, the white hat and the white hair. He's easy to spot, but just because I'm not familiar, if I'm sure if I go back and read it again, I'll be fine. I'm not trying to say that this is bad. It just it wasn't as it didn't make for as smooth of reading as I was used to in the previous 2 issues for some reason. Maybe it was just me. Maybe I just had a bad day. I don't know. Um, but that's all. And so here the sheriff is he's kind of holding his hat and he's like, I don't agree with this. And because they just straight up started murdering people in cold blood here. There's no like put your hands up, you're coming in. Like they're just like they're just gonna come kill you. You guys no due process.
Yep.
So they're like the Texas Rangers like the smartest smart. They cut the horses loose, but they stay put. You see movement, son, you take the shot. I see him, I shoot him. Could be a ranger yet. And then we see the sheriff. I don't agree with this assault against Enfield. I cannot sanction the murder against these people. Murder? You call this murder? We call it justice. And so here we get this argument about basically 2 sides, and this is kind of like a political argument. Of course, they don't bring real world politics into it, but nonetheless, it's very much the idea of due process versus no due process. Do cops have the ability to just make judgments like that, or is it not up to them? And so it's an interesting quandary. The writers, to their credit, don't tell you the reader what to think. They don't say which person is right, which person is wrong. Just characters having their viewpoints, and I really love that. So you can walk away with your own interpretation. But needless to say, um, the sheriff was kind of in the minority, and he gives up his badge, um, and it gets lays it on the rock, and he walks away. We cut back to Enfield's gang, and we see like some of the wives. They're like, "Oh no, Jamie, my boy, let me go," and they're trying to hold her back, and his just dead body, and just this is a really impactful, emotional scene, in my opinion. Um, just the horror of it. Like if you put yourself in their shoes, just having to see all this going on, and Enfield is just trying to keep everyone calm. He's like, "Do not come in the open. 10-1, they're waiting." But James, let me go. He needs me. Gore, he's dead. There ain't nothing you can. I just gotta go. I gotta. And she's just, panic stricken. She's just not
Critical.
thinking straight. So she just runs. No, she runs. And then this is a beautiful cinematic. I love this cutaway. And remember
Sure.
the sheriff? He's just kind of wandering
Yep.
by himself out in the wilderness, and you just hear kablam. But we as the reader know what that gunshot is, and he just huh, and then he pinches his nose, and he
Bro.
just knows he doesn't know exactly what's happened, but you can just tell he's like, oh, this isn't right. And then we cut back and we see her dead body as she's crawling to her dead husband, And just the tragedy of this, like this is like Shakespearean, and then
Oh, yeah.
blam, and it's just like nobody move, and Enfield's still trying to keep everyone together, and it's no one. What do we do? What do we do? Essentially, and I think it's as they don't really have the word balloons. We don't know who's saying what here because the word balloons don't point to it, but someone says Enfield, we're stuck. Tell us what to do. Yeah, Enfield, tell us what to do. And so some of the other men have shown up and got some guns. And this black guy here, he's just like, look at him, man.
It's Roadblock from G.I. Joe.
Serious, man. He's got a Gatling gun. Like I'm just like, whoa.
It's like Arnold coming at in Predator.
Right.
50 kill.
And it's like, oh, okay. So we cut over, and they start talking amongst each other, and they talk about like a previous like heist and firefight, and they're like, oh, remember that firefight in San Jacinto? San Jacinto. And I love here like the stage where they're having to shout across from the building to the carriage where they're hiding because if they come out they'll get shot. So it's just and of course no one can understand what they're saying because they're just saying, remember this job we did this. And I love when they like you're the villain, or not the villains, but in this case I guess they're looked at as the villains, but they're able to talk in code, and they're like, yeah, that one play, remember, but in broad daylight, can we do that? And so they decide they're going to try, and then we cut over, and this is always one of the things that gives me chills whenever I see a straight razor on someone's neck. It's such a great cutaway,
Ah,
cut to, and we
makes
see
me
the
so
barber,
nervous.
shaving this guy. He's like, oh, thank you, F. Needed something like that. Hard day. Speaking of, I noticed something. Oh, what's that? And see, this was one of those times where I was like, I didn't quite understand. It's like, no star. I was like, wait, that's the sheriff? Like,
Yeah.
um, and then we cut to here, and it's like, it seems like he's different. Like the coloring, it's like, is that the same guy that was in the chair? Is right here?
They miscolored his mustache, and he's sitting in the chair. It's white.
His mustache, yeah, it looks darker. Yeah, like maybe it's
It's
shade or something. I don't know.
Which is
it's supposed to
really,
be black.
strange because the artist is the colorist. So usually you only see things like that when it's like a separate colorist who messes things
Yeah,
up.
he goofed up. Yeah, he's supposed to be
I'm
black.
thinking it's supposed to be like the lighting, like he's
Yeah,
it, but it threw me off as a reader, and I was like, wait, what? And I eventually got it, but anytime you get little interruptions like that, it just disrupts the flow. Again, it's just a minor critique. It's not doesn't ruin the book by any means, but since we're
I
just
know. I
talking
didn't have
about
any
it,
issues.
well, you're not all of us are as solid of readers as you. So some of us
I read
have more
fast.
troubles.
I read faster than you do. I had no
Yes,
problems.
you do. Well, like I said, some of us were a little slower. But
These parts here.
we're not here to just slather praise and never critique anything. At least not I'm not. But
Well, I'm slamming praise because there's nothing to critique.
Zach, do something about him,
yes.
please.
Hashtag
Man, if
criticism.
I could, I would have done it years ago.
All right, good night, everybody. I'm going to bed. See
So
what he did?
the barber's confronting him, and we see someone step in, and it's like, well, I never knew you for the quitting type. And I'm not sure who that was. Maybe Venkman can enlighten me who this person talking to him is.
That's actually the guy barber. He's got his beard shaved, his neck shaved by the barber.
So that's this guy?
Right there on the left.
No,
No, that's the sheriff. He quit, threw his star off.
there's
Okay.
Colonel Sanders.
Who's
and
the
then there's
guy
in the
here
brown vest?
on the left? Who's the third man?
Yeah, I don't know who the third man
What?
is. They're not showing him.
That's a mirror.
No, it's not a mirror.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it could be a mirror.
Because you go to the next panel, he's not there. And look at how he's standing.
It could be.
Arm,
Yeah.
but-
No, I'm not saying you're wrong. Now that you're talking about it, My point is only
Wait,
this. It isn't immediately clear. I had to stop, try to interrupt the story, process what's happening, try to figure it out. And ideally, you don't want your reader to do that. You want them to just be smooth sailing, read it through. But no point lingering on that. We cut back to the bank, and this is where the original scene of the crime happened, right? So they pulled the body down, apparently, just finally, the original gruesome crime. And this appears to be the sheriff. Um, is taking a second look, and someone comes up to him and says, "You find the man yet?" Huh? The man who done it, the murderer. I mean, you catch him, sheriff? Oh, you mean Enfield? No, didn't see Enfield. Different man, dark eyebrows. What kind of funny? Not Enfield, you say? No, sir. Saw the man took a shot at a chick, then went off that way. Wore a red bandana around his face. Only seen his eyes. Eyes like coal. Well, anyhow, I hope it catch the man, sheriff, and he takes off. And so now we've got this sheriff who already is feeling a little weird about the whole thing and how the Texas Rangers shooting up the gang, and everyone's just getting blood on their hands, and they're just forgetting about the process of law and order. And the sheriff's taking a second look, and now he's starting to really question what's going on here. And we cut back to the gang hideout, and the plan is afoot. And we see Enfield's wife toss him, uh, I guess, like a poncho comes to be, and he's trying to talk her off a ledge type thing. He's like making me a promise. You got to go with the men, or go when everyone leaves. And she's like, I'm gonna go where I want. She's being all stubborn. He's like, Amy, I told you, you can't stay. They'll find you and kill you just for being around me. Everyone in the country knows about us, and if anyone's a target, it's you. And I can't have that. Aren't I the one to make that decision? I'll go where I'll decide. Amy. And it's this right here was like poetry to me. Chris Condon, I just want to applaud you. The writing here, this relationship felt so real between a man and a woman, and yet it also felt so like romantic. It didn't feel like the fake lovey-dovey nonsense. It felt like the true solid emotional feelings that men and women have for each other, that's raw and
yeah,
dirty, but yet you also could tell that they really loved each other, and it just played right. Enfield is like, he can't bear the idea that she won't be safe. Like, he just needs to know, so he can do what he's gonna do. If you're a man, you probably understand what I'm saying. He just
yeah.
needs
Had
her.
this,
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, had this been a movie, she would have stayed by and she would have grabbed the shotgun to him to shut the hell up. I love you. I'm staying with you. But I love the
Maybe.
fact that they went a different route, because this is basically those old spaghetti western movies. The woman would be stubborn. She said, and she'd tell you, "I'm staying." It's basically like you watch John Wayne movies. There's always that one woman who's very stubborn and wants to stick around. Doesn't need no man. So it
Yeah.
is very realistic.
It is very realistic, and just the way some of the lines are written. There's a little moment of levity here on panel 6 where he says, "My daddy used to say the absence makes the heart grow fonder. You didn't know your daddy." Well, somebody said it, and that don't mean it ain't true. And I just love when you can have moments of like seriousness and it's dark and everything, and then have a slight amount of humor, but not overdo it. Like the Disney Star Wars comedy nonsense that they always like. It just fit, and it immediately goes back to the drama. He's like, "Go, I'll find you. I swear, I love you. Damn it, don't damn that, honey." And it's just like, it's just beautiful. Anyways, you either agree with me or you don't. So Enfield steps out, and now we as a reader know he's got a plan. But he's like, "I'm coming out. I don't want no more on account of my name. I'm coming out. You hear?" Oh, he's out in the open. Should I take the shot? You hear? Let me handle this. So the Rangers like, "That you, Enfield?" "In the flesh. Seeing reason, willing to pass up your vile crimes or fess up your vile crimes. Um, what say you, huh? Submit to hanging and we'll let the others off easy." And Enfield says, How do I know y'all ain't lying? I guess you don't. Um, and then we see the other guy is like, it's active sheriff now, Enfield, putting a stop to your annex. And then the ranger's like, "Yo, back down, boy." This guy's already getting too big for his britches.
You know that guy is
And
right. That's the guy. That's the guy who stood up in the crowd in the first issue. That's John Marley or Mayberry, whatever his name is.
yeah, and it's also the guy earlier in this issue that was accusing the sheriff of being, uh, you know, basically kind
Yeah.
of like soft on crime or whatever.
Yep.
Um, and he's like, where's Hardesty? You kill him too? He's above snakes and kicking. He don't got the metal for this kind of work. So I believe that's the sheriff. Um, that's so. Maybe he just didn't like seeing the law get scattershot, and that triggers the ranger. He's like, "You talking law to me, boy? I'm the only one talking sense here. I am the law." It's like, "You ain't but shit." And he's like, "No." And then there's a big gunfight, and then he realizes, oh shit, he got played, and Mr. Gatling gun is just lays waste. Um, and so the women and the rest of the gang's able to get away, and we get the all clear. And Enfield's he's just it's like, okay, you can kind of see it just on his look on his face. It's like, okay, that's one little thing that they're past, but he knows this ain't over. We cut back out to the wilderness where the posse had to retreat. And look who they come across. It's some Union soldiers. Um, and they recognize that this guy's a Texas Ranger. And the Ranger basically recruits him and says, like, yeah, your boys are soldiers with no war. We got ourselves a little homegrown conflict that needs ending. And you boys arrived just in time. And that is a perfect set, like not a cliffhanger, but, like a perfect pause till the next issue. And man, this issue is so good. I guess I'll let
This is probably my favorite issue so far,
is
to be
it
honest.
okay? Well, I'll let you go
This is
first then.
probably of the 3 issues, this is probably my favorite. So first of all, Colonel Sanders, Sam Elliott is a sumbitch. Uh, he's
Yeah,
thinking he's all Judge Dredd, I am the law, taking the law into his own hands. I mean, this is something I've seen in several westerns where the guy wears the badge and he thinks he can do no wrong, and he really is a magnificent villain,
yep.
or antagonist, I guess. Um, really, really good stuff with him. Um, I do like the retaliation from the gang, because so far all we've really seen is that the gang has kind of been on the defensive. So getting them into to see them kind of like retaliating or counterattacking was really cool. The big reveal of the guy with the Gatling gun. It seems a little bit. It just barely crosses the line of like realistic into fantastical and outrageous, but it's still like it could happen. I can believe it could happen.
They
The
did
guy
have
with
Gatling
the
guns.
minigun.
It's not
Did
it's
they
not a
did.
minigun. It's a Gatling gun.
It's not a minigun, a Gatling gun. I'm sorry, that's what I
And
meant to say. Gatling.
he does have the crank. You see here.
Yep.
They had to crank it to turn it.
See,
He
but
feels
just seeing like so many GI Joe cartoons and so many
yeah.
like video games and everything, I kind of feel like that whole concept of a weapon has been like made to be outrageous.
He's the
But this,
first.
I mean, you're right though. They did exist back at this time. It's
And
Well,
not
during
completely
this
crazy.
time, they were extremely, like, I don't want to say effective, but they were extremely intimidating. Like,
Yeah.
deadly.
nowadays, a standard assault rifle is so effective that you don't need
What's an
like a
assault rifle?
minigun.
What's an
Assault
assault
rifle.
rifle? I gotta ask you, what's an assault rifle?
It's a weapon issued to military soldiers. Um,
Assault rifle is not a name of any gun. It's all it is a fully automatic
An
rifle.
AR-15. The
no, I
AR
didn't say
stands for assault
AR-15s.
rifle.
No. No, it's AR stands for Armalite.
Right. I
The guy
didn't say
Does it
designed
really?
it.
I didn't
Yeah.
say AR. So
Okay. Well, I did.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
just saying.
Anyway, I'm
I'm
not
just.
gonna. All right, Mr. NRA, hold up. I'm still reviewing. I'm still doing my overview.
I'm just
You can
saying.
get into your gun terminology
I'm
later.
just saying. There's such a thing as it says assault rifle. That's a lefty
There,
term.
there is
Okay.
such a thing as assault rifle. The military has been using the term for decades. Um, the
Anyway,
lefties
to-
want to incorporate any rifle that fires semi-automatic as an assault rifle, and that's not the truth. You're
back
correct.
to the comic book here.
Yes. My point though is that a modern military grade automatic rifle is every bit as effective as in some ways more than a minigun. So it's today that would be kind of overkill. You see like Arnold Schwarzenegger firing, it looks cool for the movies, but realistically not. But back then, when not every gun, like a revolver was like peak technology, like, oh, you could have 6 shots. You didn't have to like reload your musket. A Gatling gun was peak, and your ability to just fire. Anyways, lots of westerns have actually used the Gatling guns to effect. Young Guns being one of them, which Zach still hasn't seen. Zach, you need to get on Young Guns someday.
Tombstone
But
is probably
but
better.
I have interrupted you, so please continue.
Yeah, you did. No, it's okay. No, just I was about done. I mean, overall, this was a great issue. The scene with the old lady Cora getting shot. I agree with you. The way that happens, uh, if you were seeing this in a movie, it would do that. I think that breakaway shot when you hear the first kablam,
Oh
it was just very cinematic. This was I could see this playing out as a movie. Um, just really really well done on behalf of the artist and the
yeah,
writer. I assume the writer planned it this way.
yeah.
So yeah, really well done. If I had one problem with this issue, and I say problem in the loosest way possible,
Uh-huh.
it's that I was really expecting to see more of the girl throwing knives, and you do see one instance of that, but I was really expecting to see her do more, like throw knives at a bunch of guys and kill them. Didn't get that. Maybe next issue, but
Yeah.
like I said, very very minor gripe in the larger scheme of things.
Right.
So yeah,
Might be one of those things too, like this is based on true events, so the
that's true.
writer's hands are tied based
Tied by
on,
history.
yeah, like, it's that you're balancing. Do you write in like fictional things to like make the story more exciting or spectacular,
Yeah.
or do you try to stay closer to the truth? I don't know, because I don't know the history of all this, so I'm presuming that Chris Condon, being a huge fan of Texas history, and this is like actual local history for him, that he's probably trying to stay as true and accurate. But that's an assumption on my part. RDV, what about you, my friend? What
All the way through this, the thing that stuck out to me the most though is the kid coming up and saying, "It wasn't Enfield, it was somebody else," but he had Cole's eyes. And going back,
Yeah.
before we did this tonight, I read back and read all the way through.
uh-huh.
John, the guy who becomes the new sheriff here, John Mayberry, he's had it out for Enfield since book one.
Mhm.
He was in there. They're having the meeting stuff. He was talking about how nobody goes after Enfield. Enfield gets away with doing all this stuff. It's affected my livelihood. Him stealing my money. He hates him. He hates the sheriff. Uh, as far as we don't know if when Bill was murdered, if he was murdered after the assembly or before, or when the assembly takes place. We just know that we see Enfield robbing the bank, and then we cut to a courtroom thing.
Right.
So he's my prime suspect for killing the banker.
Could be.
Because he is just way too gung ho. Obviously, it fits because he hates the fact that the sheriff doesn't do anything. This lets Enfield get away with this. He's pissed off that there's no fruit of the land here. They're all starving to death. And the fact that Enfield gets away with everything. So obviously, I can see. I'm saying that he is the one that killed the. That's my choice, but like you said, there's a lot of stuff that stands out to this. The Enfield and his wife, how the way they talk to you is so real, and it's stuff you'd see in a lot of westerns. you get the girl, the woman who basically sees her husband laying there. She wants to go to him no matter what. She's in that frame of mind. She doesn't care. She wants to see him, just touch him one last time. Something I witnessed firsthand with with the passing of my dad.
Mm-hmm.
And it's believable. And the way I said everything through this literally could be done as a TV show or as a movie. Uh, it's just awesome. Um, Heartbreaking. There are some funny moments in here. The guy showing up with the hand crank Gatling gun.
Yeah.
Which and for those who know Gatling guns who played the original and the best Red Dead Redemption game, as you'd avoid the Gatling guns because and then and if you watch Young Guns too, they show the Union soldiers here. They're the army had access to the Gatling guns back then. So the fact that these are criminals have one, I'm curious, like where they got it from. And then they talk about like, oh, you remember this time we did this in the city? It's kind of like it's Hawkeye and Natasha. Oh, what happened in Istanbul or whatever anyway, Budapest. That's right, Budapest. So I want to learn. I want to learn a little more about that. But overall, though, I just love everyone. It plays their parts, and it's very even cliche it is. You got the Ranger. The Ranger is gung ho. He's convinced that Enfield's there, and even though he's so morally righteous, doesn't want to admit that he could be wrong. He just wants to see someone hang. Of his points.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you got Mayberry, who's basically who hates Enfield and thinks the sheriff's weak, and so now he's the sheriff, and like he's the worst person to put as a sheriff. But so he's my prime suspect, and then you get the sheriff, the former sheriff, who went into town, was kind of was going to wash his hands. Even from the very first issue, he was kind of like wishy-washy, and he doesn't have the stomach for this. What they're doing is wrong, but he's going to end up being the guy that basically, I guess, I say he's going to bite at the end, because now he knows. Now that he knows,
yeah.
Now that he knows that Enfield didn't do it, it was somebody else, and the kid. And he's just ended up getting killed. And I think it's going to end up being John Mayberry, and I hope I'm not ruining it for anybody if it turns out to be true. But I mean,
I have a feeling we're not going to actually learn, because it seems to be, and if you read at the end of the comic, that gets included here, Chris Condon puts this excerpts from the Texas Record, which talks about the actual Enfield Gang massacre, and I really recommend it. It's a little bit dry reading, so I understand if it's like, but if you're into the book, it really does share some interesting enlightenment to the overall facts. And it from what I gathered, especially from the first issue, is that the story of the Enfield massacre as is told has a lot of holes in it, like, and that Condon's motivation to tell this is he believes that the history that's written wasn't actually what went down, and it was kind of filled in with assumptions and things like that, and I believe that they don't really know who killed them. And so my guess is that we'll get clues, so we as the audience will make like, it's probably him. But if he's going to stick to history, I don't think that he can actually point in the story and say it was this guy for sure. That's just my presumption. We'll see where it goes, but yeah, I like that the sheriff in the beginning is kind of like comes across as like this kind of weaselly kind of weakling guy. And then by the time you get to this part of the story, you're like, sometimes being not gung ho to like go shoot people and stuff is like the good thing. At first we're like, oh, he's a weak guy. But he's also the one that's like sane and reasonable when it comes time to be like, you know what? Maybe we shouldn't just go in and start shooting people. Like, maybe we should hear out the other side of the story. In the beginning, we're just like, oh, he's weak.
Let due process reign.
Right. In the beginning, we're like, oh, the Texas Ranger is what we need. and then we see him and he's just got no restraint, right? He's like the pit bull, that's just, you let him off the leash and he's just gonna start tearing things to shreds. And it's like, sometimes you need someone who can go, let's stop and think about this. Um, I really
Wow,
love the dynamics. Go ahead.
I was reading that paragraph there. Eli's, Eli, the Rangers, famous for his essential role in the Enfield Game Massacre. Though there was one skirmish in East Texas, he really put his name on the map. Right there, the young woman named Margaret. And when he does them, he castrates the guy in Jerusalem and puts him all out. It's just wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey man, you don't mess with Texas because they will
Yep.
retaliate in kind.
Call him two balls.
And down here they talk
Wow.
about Edgar Hardesty. He was the first sheriff in Ambrose County's history, but there's not a lot of information about him. So it's nice to see kind of where Condon
Yeah.
got his information to put this story together. I really like it. Just, I'm so glad that they included this. Like I said, it is dry reading, but it's worth going through once if you're enjoying the story. And then of course here's Condon himself talking about the book, and we got some actual letters. What were your guys's favorite? Like, if you picked one part of this story that was your favorite part, what would you say it was? And start with Zach.
That minigun scene, or not the minigun scene necessarily, the retaliation scene where it's like the gang starts to like fire back and defend themselves against the ranger posse.
I was gonna say if it's the minigun scene, there's a lot of kids in there, and that's why Zach likes it.
Oh,
uh, I couldn't help it.
boo. All right, what about you, Vankman?
It's the scene between Amy and Enfield. Them bickering. It's. I just love it.
Yeah,
I
I
want
do
more of
love
it.
it. That's my second favorite because it really does touch my heart, and it's funny and tragic, and there's so much I love about this scene. But my
It's like
go ahead.
I was gonna say their bickering continues from issue 2 when
Yep.
he gets there, and
Yeah. It feels so human. It really does. But I just have to go back to this part, even though it's not as straightforward entertaining. I just can't help but applaud Chris on and Jacob, the artist, like just how this scene plays out and the tragedy, and like I really got chills here. Um,
well,
and watching
I
her dive out, and I love how they structured the page that she runs out on the last panel, so you have to flip the page to find out what happens, which is a great technique. And then when you do flip the page, you still don't see what happens. You see the sheriff and he's wandering. Just the cinematic of the shot that you can just, in my head, I like hear the the tropey kind of like western, like where it's just all quiet and you hear the shot and it kind of just echoes in the hills, and just him pinching. It's just so much is being said here without any words, and then you cut back and it's just heart wrenching. Um, it's one of those times where you can use gruesomeness in such a compelling like way. It's not like it needed to be like this. And I don't get a joy of seeing it, but it just, the power of it really informs the story in my opinion. Anyways, that's mine.
Yeah, I kept thinking about imagine if the sheriff, at the end instead of quitting, it would have been like would have held them at gunpoint. So this is we're done with this shit.
Yeah.
It would have went a different way if the ranger would have shot him, or if he would have got knocked out by John Mabry. Like I said, not I think that John guy. Like I said, he what the kid said, the eyes of darkest coal.
Yep. Oh,
And
I mean, you're spot on. I
yeah.
mean, you just look at this guy. I mean, he looks like a villain. I mean,
From the very first issue, they paint him as being a villain. Even then you hear about the kid said he was wearing a red handkerchief. Well, when you see Enfield running away, his friend had a handkerchief too, a red handkerchief. But we never see we never see where that guy goes to. And it's not the guy gets shot, so I don't know who it was that was running away with him. Like, I'm wondering, like, did this guy team up with somebody from Enfield's gang? Was it an inside job?
I don't
And
know.
like I said, so
I just like here where Mayberry's just like, you don't deserve the honor, and then he
like
takes the badge off and he
yeah.
holds it up, and he's and the way that the frame is composed, he's holding the star and he's holding it in front from the reader's perspective. The star is over Mayberry, and he's saying no one deserves this. Is like a symbolic. It's like the storyteller is telling us symbolically, like this guy doesn't deserve it. Like um, it just I love symbolism like that. This book is like a masterpiece. I know that I was picking some little things, and Bankman, you were like, there's nothing to critique, and
It's
mostly
like I said,
mostly I agree with you. Like I
yeah,
was just trying to find something rather than just be a total like fanboy of it.
yeah.
But I am a
Well, I'm not.
fanboy. I love
Yeah,
it.
so I do agree when you go to the scene where this guy, the sheriff, the former sheriff, goes and you see him, he's getting his hair cut, but then you notice that his mustache is a different color, and then when I first saw it, it's the only two standing in there, and so when it goes to this scene, I figured right there he's
Yeah.
sitting down, and then you see him sitting down to the left of him. Look at it's the opposite
Oh no,
reflection.
I believe you're right. You sold me on
Yeah.
that for sure. All I'm saying is I didn't immediately get that, and so it disrupted. Like like it's like if I were watching a movie and I had to like pause it and like rewind and then watch it again and like pause it and rewind, it would disrupt the flow. And all I was trying to say is ideally you want your audience to completely understand everything that's happening all the time so that they can stay immersed in the story and not have to be like, whoa, wait a second, I don't get it.
Yeah. And then you
That's
see at the
all.
bottom, it's a sheriff staring himself in a reflection, and then the guy's talking to the left. So that's. But I mean, yeah, it is kind of sloppy in the panel before this when you see the sheriff, leaning back and you see his mustache is white, and then mainly it's like black. It's like he forgot to color it in.
Yeah. I like I said, I think it's probably just a case of where he's trying to use color for like lighting effects and things. And it's one of those things that after I see it, I get it. Like as
Or
I see this image now, it seems so much more clear that he's looking in a mirror. But when you don't actually get it at first, you're confused. Now that I know what to
like,
look for, it makes sense because you can see here as he's looking, there's like these color artifacts, which I believe are meant to illustrate like the reflection of the mirror, like the mirror's glistening.
well,
Like,
I also wonder if I also wonder if his mustache changes colors because he's not serious. He's kind of like laid back, kind of this, and then as soon as he gets serious, his color goes back to his mustache because he like by his facial expression. He's looking up at the guy. Oh yeah, kind of like what's that for? What do you mean? And then like start and then he gets serious, and then his mustache returns to full color. Could be that. I still think it's a goof
well,
though.
notice his vest is different too. And like, notice how the vest is like a darker brown, and then here it's orange.
His brain says sometimes being a fanboy is the appropriate response to a comic.
Yeah, no, you're
Like I said, I didn't see anything wrong with this. It is true. I'm more lenient on books than you are. But this
well,
I
look, man,
couldn't
I'm giving
find
this
anything
book a
wrong with
5 stars. I'm not like
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I'm not demoting it. All I'm trying to do is
yeah.
just be
Four
honest and say
four
like,
point 99991.
like even a 5 star book is going to have and I get that the things that might affect me might not affect someone else. And had I read it and not had that experience, then I wouldn't have even said anything. I
Yeah,
just happened to have
yeah.
had it.
Getting
Rhaegar
old.
says he's a
I know.
gun nut and his head is exploding right now.
Do you
I'm
use the word?
assuming
Because you use
it's
the
the
word
Gatling
assault
gun.
rifle.
Oh, the assault
No,
rifle.
yeah, because it's not a real term.
Oh
It's a
my
made up term.
goodness.
Like, because you talking about the military weapons? It's M16s or M4s.
Uh huh.
Yes. Assault rifle is what they classify as anything that has you can pull the trigger as fast as you can, or put a magazine fed into it. That's the Wikipedia term. But
Uh-huh.
but like I said, potato. Zach likes Fantastic Four. You like assault rifles.
I'm not saying I like assault
Assault
rifles.
rifles.
I've just heard the military referring to assault rifles.
CNN calls them assault
I'm
rifles.
not talking about the CNN talking. CNN talks about people and their own rifles, like an AR-15 being an assault rifle, which is not. It's a
But
hunting rifle. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about military rifles, um, automatic weapons. It's only been
the
in
thing,
I guess it's more. It's been a while now, but I mean, when I was a kid,
yeah,
I can remember when they put like maybe that was like Vietnam, but it was the Vietnam era where they actually started making the weapons fire first in burst and then semi-auto
yeah,
or automatic modes because they were learning that full automatic was actually a detriment and soldiers were wasting ammo. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. They're you calling a military rifle? All it is they have full fire capability. They're basically where somehow I guess you pull as fast as you can with your finger.
right.
It's the same gun. It's just that they disabled the full fighter, full automatic part of it on the gun. So
Anywho, um, what are you guys listening in? Have you guys read the book? Like Breen, what was your favorite? I'm curious what you guys or favorite parts of the book were. Um,
my only critique on this comic book is that they should get rid of the stupid stuff in the background. But that is in as far as I know you're gonna say stupid stuff, but I mean like give me more comic, less of the pages in the back as far as like the history stuff.
oh, no way.
I want, and
Venkman doesn't want to be educated.
I
He
want,
just wants to be
I want,
entertained.
no, what I want is those really. If you want to release that stuff, release it as a companion.
No one was gonna
Look,
buy that's silly.
Yeah.
you will, because you're reading it. I skip this part every time. I just go read the comic book.
No, you don't have to read it. That's fine, but
Venkman, you also
I
realize that
got
if they
great
do
value
that,
out of it.
the whole story is like 3 issues long, so you would literally like limit the run from 4 issues to 3 or 5 issues to whatever.
Well, no, I mean, Bankman would have a point if this were a 20-page comic and then 2 pages removed. So for this part, and so it was actually only 18 pages of comic. But the fact is you're getting 27 pages of comic, which is more than your typical issue. It's $3.99. And then you get this, which I like I said, I find this very valuable. This adds to the comic to me. So I don't feel like I'm missing out. I feel like these pages are added in. If these weren't here, we wouldn't be getting more comic. We would just be getting less pages overall, and then we'd still be paying the same
Yeah,
price.
Yeah, that's a good point.
yeah. The first issue has like 8 pages of this that isn't story in it, but is a 36 issue 36 page book.
Vinkman's book pages have to have pictures.
The comics should have pictures.
That's why he doesn't like the Jonathan Hickman the graphs, where
My
it's all
point
the
is,
like the diagrams and everything.
is your standard comic book size is 20 to 22 pages, and if I'm getting that, then I feel like I'm getting, and it's a standard cover price, obviously. If it's
I
for,
just say I want more. I want more story. That's all.
oh yeah, I don't fault you for wanting more story, but
Yeah, no, that's
if you're giving
yeah,
me the 22 pages of story for the normal standard cover price, but in addition I get other things free, I'm not going to complain.
it's
Nothing
like
is
getting
like
that free. It's like getting that free onion ring in your Burger King fries.
Right.
It's like
Yeah.
it's like in that free. It's like in that free bottle of Pepto Bismol when you go to Burger King.
Nah, dude,
Wait,
Burger
your Burger
is
King gets free
tasty.
Pepto Bismol?
Yeah, because Burger King is gross. Ugh. I don't know about you guys, but ugh. You guys talk about McDonald's. Burger King's worse than McDonald's.
Not by me.
Some
McDonald's is worse than Burger King.
some things that like a lot of things at Burger King are bad. but there are a few things. Anyways, when I was on, Rico Tamaki's walked into the room.
Are you kidding me? She was here in the very beginning of the chat.
Yeah, but now we're in the comic book section.
Yeah. Incidentally, does anyone else think that face on the front cover looks like Heather Antos?
Don't ruin it for me, Zach.
What? No, because I don't know what Heather Antos looks like.
She actually looks fairly attractive, but she looks like that cover looked like an unhinged Heather Antos, like Purge level.
The great thing about this series is 5-issue series that they're all connecting covers. I love that.
I do like that. I do like.
I do love the
I
connecting
like
covers.
connecting covers.
Now,
but this cover,
another amazing book that it's funny. Neither of these books tonight are books that I would have normally picked up. Like if I were just walking through the comic book store and it's on the shelf, I wouldn't have picked either of these up. But the first one we talked about why, because of Breen and because of that Texas blood, and then I gave it a shot, and it's been well worth it. This one, because Daniel Warren Johnson is writing and drawing it, I was like, all right, I normally wouldn't buy a Transformers comic, but I'm gonna buy this one. And yeah, it's good. Does either of you want to deliver the synopsis, or do you want me to do it again?
Well, I'll just say this. I don't know, Zach, if you were a fan of the Transformers at all before this?
Michael Bay, baby. That's as far back as it goes.
So oof.
That made myself cringe at that.
I would have stopped before Michael Bay, but I mean the reason I watched the Michael Bay movie because they had Megan Fox.
Ugh, that's cringy.
Because she was hot back then.
She was hot. She was
kinda.
And she's right around our age too, bro. So it's not like I'm looking for like someone who's 10 years younger. Hey, I want to watch this, because there's this 18-year-old in here. I'm like 36 now. All right, get into this. So for those who watch the Transformers movie, now I'm not talking about the Michael Bay. I'm talking about the animated movie.
Yes.
Awesome. The only movie you need to watch for Transformers is the animated movie.
Pretty much.
And what happened on their ship, is that they were fighting the Decepticons and the Autobots were being chased. Decepticons crashed on board, and they fought, and then they crash lands on Earth. Millions of years go by, they're reactivated, and they scan. Each of them scan different. The Autobots scan something out, and it scans different things. So that's something in their cars and vehicles. So the Decepticons go and they being badass, they scan all the military stuff. That's why they have all the planes and stuff. But
right.
Yeah. So anyway, this starts off with them. You see helicopters, and kind of like a Michael Bay movie. Sorry. Then you see the base of the ship, the Transformers, crashing to Earth, and then to symbol of it, you see, someone's laying there, and obviously someone's having flashbacks. Optimus is laying there, and it turns out to be, it's Spike's dad. It's Sparky, or Sparkplug, whatever you call him. And he's drunk, and he's devastated. Obviously, he's devastated. Something happened. We see the shuttle we saw before exploded, and you get the sense right there.
That's this guy right here.
Yeah.
That guy right there is the dude in the stool.
Yeah. And you get the sense that someone close to him died, and I got the sense right away that he had another son, and the son died.
Nah, because I don't think a father and son would both be in Vietnam at the same time.
I don't know.
Maybe a brother, maybe.
Well, it's a shuttle. It blew up, and you get the sense that somebody close to him died on the shuttle.
I'm looking at the body that he's holding in that middle panel, but.
So
it could be maybe on the
either way, because I got Challenger flashbacks because I'm guessing this takes place during the 80s.
Well, yeah. Well, let me interject for a sec and offer my opinion. The Transformer storyline you're talking about. You hit the nail on the head. It takes place in the 80s. I think what's happening here is that the shuttle is being used as a time reference, just like the helicopters are being used as a time reference up here. So we got Vietnam. Right?
That's when they crash.
The crash. Yeah, we got the dad who's young and a soldier, and he's mourning the death of whether or not this is his real brother or not, most soldiers, the guy next to him is their brother, right? So this is a tragedy. We see the Optimus Prime is laying there, presumably dead, and then we see the space shuttle. We know the space shuttle didn't launch during Vietnam, so that this is like a time thing. Like time is past, and now we
Yep.
go here. I'm presuming the
Okay.
So
space
there's
shuttle is launching. This is where we're at now, without the big stamp of saying like
oh
1985 or whenever.
well anyway,
Okay.
so basically his dad's an alcoholic. Something's troubling him, and he just tries to talk to him, and his dad is just basically a complete asshole to him.
Yeah.
So then someone comes in next page, and he's like, "Hey, I need a ride for the night shift." So his dad goes to work even though he's blitzed. And then we get to Murder Falcon Part 2. Sorry. Awesome van, same style of van he used, in Murder Falcon, but a different paint job.
This was a
I
thing in the
used,
80s, by the way, 70s and 80s.
yeah.
Like the
So
early
and
80s, like paint your vans with like, Dungeons and
it
Dragons motif. Yeah.
as a friend Jay Lucian told me about this. This is actually a real character. She wasn't made for the comic book. She's actually a girl from the show, cartoon, or Transformers. Anyway, that's his girlfriend. And they're gonna go stargazing, and then as they're talking, and she's like, "Hey, did you talk to your dad about you being an astronaut?" No, I couldn't. Basically chickened out. And that right there made me think that it's like, well, because he wants to be an astronaut, and I'm like, oh, was it? And his dad is drunk because he's having either flashbacks to Vietnam or he's having flashbacks to somebody. Maybe Spike had a younger or older brother that was an astronaut and died. Who knows?
Or maybe his dad just saw the Challenger blow up and was like, "Oh heck no, you're not going to be an astronaut."
Yeah, well, so
Could be that too.
and
Yeah.
anyway, so they're setting out. They're going to do stargazing. They have a little moment there, and then something rumbles. Turns out, well, there's an earthquake, and they fall down, and then they find themselves in the spaceship. And they're like, "What the hell?" This disappeared out of nowhere, and they scroll down, and I don't say just look at the detail on everything. I'm getting Paradiso kind of flashbacks a little bit of the detail Warren Johnson
Yeah.
does in this, even though he wasn't on it. But the attention to detail. So basically, we see all the Autobots, we see the Decepticons in here. There was an epic battle in here, just like you saw in the cartoon movie. But this time everyone's just laying there motionless. I'm like, ew, it's a graveyard. Like everyone's dead.
So I need to pause you for a
Uh,
second, real quick, because you mentioned the
yeah,
cartoon movie. Do you think
yeah.
okay, do you think this comic book story takes place in the same continuity as the cartoon movie?
I think it's a little tweaked differently.
I don't
I
believe it is. It might be an homage to it, but I don't believe it is.
I think,
Because
yeah. Also, if it
no,
does, do you think this is well before the cartoon movie?
I would say it's a parallel to the cartoon movie. Same kind of time frame in there, but it's parallel.
I
As far
think,
as they would do a different branch, different way. Because here's Jetfire coming in here at the end, which I did not notice the first time.
right.
I thought it was I thought it was Ratchet at first, and then I realized, oh, it's Jetfire. Jetfire
Yeah.
comes in here and activates Telecom 1, which activates everyone randomly, but it activates Starscream first, and then you're like, Starscream wakes up, with enough energy, and then he immediately does something that I thought was kind of cool. At this point, Jetfire's been gone. Remember, he's been missing. He's been out searching for source energons to help this for Cybertron. We saw him in Void Rivals. So the kids, are quick hiding because seeing all these Telecom 1 is healing everybody. I love this cool how it's like a extremist thing, like Tony Stark had the armor, rebuilding everything, using telekinesis, whatever. And Starscream immediately goes and the next panel, page, and shoots Bumblebee in the face. He said, "We're not doing Bumblebee this series." Kills him, blows ahead, and Jetfire has no idea that there was a war. When he left, the Autobots and Decepticons were all in harmony. So he left before the war on Cybertron. That's what I'm getting. Based on my knowledge of the cartoon series and the movie. Zach going in this would not know this, so I mean, but they do kind of explain, give you a little synopsis, like what I can't read. It's out of focus on my screen. But what Starscream says, it's like you're idiots. Basically, they are the enemy.
Well, he says, Jetfire says, "What are you doing? Don't you see my markings I wear proudly on my wings? Wake up, old friend. We have been at war for the past 100 years." And Jetfire's like, but, stand aside and let me do what must be done.
100 years. There you go. There's a time frame. Because they crash landed in the 70s or in Vietnam, or 60s, late 60s, early 70s. We're in Vietnam. They even go, and it's been what, if it's the 80s, like 90 years ago is when Jetfire
No.
then
the war of the Decepticons and the Autobots has been going on for over 100 years. Not necessarily on Earth.
Yeah.
Remember, the Autobots fled to Earth.
No, yeah.
So Jetfire has been gone from Cybertron. Yeah, gone from Cybertron, gone from all the other Transformers for hundreds of years on his quest to find Energon and stuff. And he comes back, and all these things have changed. Now, like, the Decepticons and Autobots are fighting. He never even knew that a war happened. He was like, what?
Yeah. So I'm kind of glad because I'm just tired of Bumblebee. Bumblebee's been the focus of the Michael Bay movies. So it's like a F you to Michael Bay.
The Bumblebee movie was actually really good.
So Jetfire ends up getting shot, by Starscream, and So basically, we must be vigilant, basically everything that's going on, and as it's waking up everybody, and he is like, dude, I love how the next page is like, he's basically Starscream is basically saying that Megatron. F Megatron, I'm in charge, which is classic Starscream. I love that, Optimus Prime was revived next, and this is where we get the wrestling moves, because Daniel Warren Johnson is a fan of wrestling. We saw the clothes on here, and then now we see the German suplex. He grabs his arms around Starscream, and I just love it. Northern Light suplex, lands him on his head, and then he's like, Optimus Prime's like, who are these little creatures? These must be the inhabitants of this place. And of course, he's being shot at. He doesn't have his blaster rifle. The kids go and run hide. And the dialogue, everything, is just awesome. Optimus is pinned down. We see Red Alert. Or is it Ratchet? I can't remember what it is supposed to be. I think it's Red Alert.
Ratchet.
Is that Ratchet? Okay.
Yeah,
You're right. Then you go down as Ratchet. Red Alert and Ratchet, I always get confused because they have they're both doctor things.
Red Alert is the red one. He's the fire. Isn't he like the fire truck? Or the
I think I can't
one's the ambulance and one's like the
I
don't remember exactly.
Ratchet's the ambulance in this. But so far, so all this the other Decepticons are waking up, and it's a big old firefight. Soundwave is now awake. And then we get to see Ravager coming in, and he's gonna release Ravager. Optimus needs to get the gun, but he's pinned down. And they're gonna haul the Autobots out of here. And look, I have a trailer now because one of these vehicles now. It's the explanation of how he got a trailer. It was kind of cool. And the whole plot is I'm making this version. I'll buy you time. I'm gonna run for the blaster. You can load the other Autobots into there, so we can. Cause basically, they're abandoned base. Which is different from the actual show, because in the show, they actually live in the base here. But anyway, Optimus Prime gets shot. I love this action here. He goes to the blaster, he gets fired upon, and Drummond, the kids see this, he's like, and Spike's like, I can't do this. I can't watch this. So he's gonna risk his life to go. He's like, come on, we need to push help him. Basically, push the blaster to Optimus Prime. You see the next page. And I'm like, that's a heavy weapon. They're pushing it. I thought it was funny. I was like, dang. And he finally get this heroic moment. He gets his blaster, and Optimus Prime is like, no doggy, no play. And it's just straight out action. I love this. So eventually, Optimus Prime realizes they gotta flee. They can't stay here. He shoots Telecom 1. which basically no one else can be reactivated now because it's destroyed. It's beyond repair. He fired it, and they're all loaded up. They're gonna leave. Optimus grabs the kids. I'm wondering like how the kid's gonna get inside the vehicle, and he basically yeets them inside his doors. I'm like, I'd imagine if you were inside Optimus Prime and he transformed into Optimus Prime, you'd be murdered. Because there's no room in the cab. But now they're in there. So now we get to see Ratchet is the ambulance. They're letting you know now, in case you didn't know. And like I love how like Ratchet's like later on after the epic chase, they jump off the cliff. These the kid says like what the hell? They're screaming. Going what did they say, Zach?
What's that?
Ah!
Oh God! Oh good lord!
As they scream, and
Only blind sculptors from Marvel scream like that.
wow, how long have you been away from the readings?
Clearly too long.
So Jetfire is like he's dying, dude. His guts, he's leaking this Stark loop everywhere. You see him chase after Starscream, who Starscream's in pursuit. Is just launching bombs everywhere. It is just heartbreaking, and I love the chick chick chick. The little noises he puts in there because everybody knows that when they transform, their noises. And yeah. And of course, remember before it goes back to basically Sparky, who went to work. This is the old quarry they're at, Stone Quarry. And they're hiding out there. But okay, Jetfire is pretty much apologizing, and Prime's like, "Oh, I can help you. I'll give you the healing." And Ratchet's like, "Dude, I know it's a cool device, but he's so far beyond. So this is basically for you, the fans of Jetfire and Bumblebee. Sorry, they're not gonna be in this. Which honestly, I'm glad they're trimming down which Autobots gonna be here, because if you have two oversized casts, they kind of become like, hey, look, what's that? Like distant people in the back, just cameos, and that's it. Like
that's fair.
Yeah, it's kind of like when Legion shows up in Green Arrow book.
It's fair, but at the same time, there's 3 Autobots here. It's not like there's a whole cast they need to prune.
That's true. We don't know who all else is going to show up in this book.
And damn you for killing my favorite Transformer in the first issue.
Oh yeah, I didn't realize you're a big fan of Bumblebee.
I knew you were going to say that.
I know.
This is...
So yeah, and then the Decepticons are back here. They like in Soundwave says, and I always read this in my mind as Soundwaves, with the reverb voice,
Yeah.
Yeah, Teletron 1 is damaged, and all it's like, and Starscream's like, what the hell? How do we fix it? He's like, we can't. He's like, why are you looking at me? It's like, it's like he says like, what's, it's not the same, but basically, what does he say? He says it's the harvesting is up to you. It's what Mega. It's like, don't you dare say that name. I'm the leader of the Decepticons. I love because that's what Starscream is. Like, if you watch the cartoon series, he's got the screeching voice. He's just like, no, don't say this name. I'm in charge. And it's like, so Sparky's talking to his friend. We can also get this is what I guess says. It says, I want how to say this. I care about you, right? It's like, shut up. This is the way it's got to be. Honest with you. Spike needs you. You need support. I know it's been a rough go, but what the hell do you know about it? Have you gone through what I've gone through? And I was like, did he lose a son? That's what I'm wondering. And that's what's really causing him to drink. Or did he lose a wife?
I think it's just going through Vietnam. So one of the things I was going to say at the beginning of and I could be wrong. I mean, I've only got one issue to base it off of, but
yeah,
growing up, so my dad was a Vietnam vet, and I didn't know my father really because he came home from Vietnam effed up and was violent and a drunk, and basically my mom had to remove herself from him, and she kind of like fled with me. And it took him many years to kind of like clean his life up. And unfortunately, I didn't get to know him until several years. Well, it's been about 5 or 6 years now. I got to finally like see him and like I tried to accept him back in my life and just get to know him, whatever. But he was already in his 70s, and that was the last time I saw him. But I don't want to turn this into like a tragedy, but definitely
Yeah,
this is Vietnam screwed people up, and it's harder to see now because Vietnam's kind of like the new World War II. What I
shell
mean
shock.
is what I mean by that is like when I was growing up, World War II was like my grandparents. And now that I'm older, Vietnam is like most people's grandparents. Like it's the older generation, and the ones that survived it, like they've kind of like reconciled with it. But in the 80s, Vietnam had only been over for like 10 years, and it was still a trying time. And that
Yeah,
was that was the era where like I remember like when the movie Platoon came out, it was such a huge deal because no one had ever really made Vietnam movies, you know, and it was like just the veterans, and they came home. That's another problem with Vietnam, is when the vets came home, they were like spit on. There was a huge like it was not unlike the world is today with like the libs being out of control and just being so vile and hateful and stuff. When the troops came home, all the hippies were just like, "Screw you, baby killer," blah, blah, and just like these,
LBG. I mean, we're basically killed today.
yeah, these kids were shipped off to see horrors, and then they came home and were treated like shit. So, in any case, all I'm trying to do is say I can
Yeah.
kind of relate a little bit to what I mean. I didn't go through Vietnam, but that's kind of my lens of what I'm seeing. This guy is a guy similar to my
Mo-
dad,
yeah,
and
Moran.
go
Yeah,
ahead.
Marania brings up a great point. That could have been his son. It was like you said because there were fathers and sons that went into the war in Vietnam. You know, because
It's possible. I just think, I guess the way I'm looking at it is I don't think there needs to be that level of connection. Just the
I think
fact of
it
being
can
in
be.
Vietnam messed
Yeah,
people up, right? You didn't need to like
yeah,
have
you
your
yeah.
can leave
kid
it
there with you.
pretty open. You
But
can leave it open to interpretation.
I'm just saying for the comic, like because if it's he lost somebody, because the thing is that it's Spike and his dad, but there's no mother around, so we don't even. It could be his wife if but they haven't even they really haven't hinted. All they do is that we see him crying over another person in the war. So where's
Well,
the mother? Is
what
she?
I'm trying to say though is these guys, they came home from Vietnam,
Oh
and they and
yeah,
they
it's
they never got the help that they needed. They were kids being sent off into a horror zone, watching their buddies get blown to bits, and then came back, and then the country hated him. And this guy's been raising a son. He's working at this quarry. This is just a guy who doesn't know how to deal with life. That's how I'm looking at it. And he's turned to
for sure.
alcohol to kind of like numb his pain, and we all know like that actually doesn't numb your pain. It actually just makes things worse. And now he's reached a stupor of a point where he can't rationally deal with it. And even when he has a friend who's being a good friend and being like, "Hey man, I just want to like help," and he's just like being defensive, like, "What do you know about it? Keep your opinions to yourself." He's just lashing out because he's hurt people, hurt others.
Yeah, like I said,
That's my lens.
it
I'm not
could be.
saying I'm right, but that's
Yeah, no, I know. I'm just saying. Yeah, it's open interpretation, but
yeah. Go ahead.
the fact that
Continue on.
the fact that the kid hasn't said, told his dad he wants to be an astronaut really makes me bring into question to like, we see that the whatever I suppose, we don't know if it's supposed to the Challenger exploding or whatever, but if his older brother had previously passed away, I could see why his dad is kind of overprotective of him. Maybe doesn't want him dying, but then again, we don't know. It's all we know is right now is that Starscream is gonna pick up this little dude right here. Is that's and he's like, let's get in here. He's like, dude, don't do it, Dave. And what's this now? And this is where he just squeezes him to death. Pop, oh, squishy. So fragile, so pathetic,
This
so
is
squishy.
not your daddy's Transformers.
I
The
love
way
it.
the squish is drawn to look like fluid
Yep.
is incredible. Like I something about reading that the way it was, it like really made it pop, and I was like, oh, because it's different. It's different
Pop
from like
phrasing.
all the other like sound effect lettering.
Yep.
Like, yeah, that's well done, Mr. Warren Johnson.
Phrasing there with the pop. It's right on the nose.
Uh,
Absolutely, yeah, that's something.
all right.
But
Do you want to start off, or do you want me to start off, Zach?
All right. I'll go ahead. I'll
All
go
right, you go
first
first.
because so as I mentioned at the start, I was not a Transformers kid. I didn't watch the cartoon.
Transformers.
I was
Sorry.
more into GI Joe. So be ready for when Duke drops in December. Um that being said, I have some basic knowledge. I know who Optimus Prime is and Starscream and all that. So yeah, now if you've read any of Daniel Warren Johnson's books, Murder Falcon, Duo Power Bomb, I assume Wonder Woman Dead Planet. I haven't read that one yet. But you know that he does like he has these really gut punching like family themes
Uh
throughout
huh.
his book. And so I was kind of like being on the lookout for that. So
Yep.
seeing this with the dad, being the drunken kind of PTSD Vietnam vet, I was like, okay, this I could, you know, this is what goes on. I with Daniel Warren Johnson. Whether whatever his circumstances are, I think he could be open to interpretation. Honestly, I mean Daniel Warren Johnson will probably dig deeper into it in later issues. That's kind of his thing. If you've read his past books, you know that he starts out kind of vague and then he exposes more of the backstory as the issues go on. But anyway, um, so we've got the depressed dad lashing out at his son. He gets cranky at the bartender for ratting him out. He's just this groggy guy. And then Spike is kind of like the antithesis to that. He's like, he wants to shoot for the stars, literally, because he wants to be an astronaut. He's this hopeful guy. We see when he's talking to his girlfriend in the quarry, they're having like this hopeful, kind of positive conversation because she wants to go do something. I forgot the job she wanted to do, but she's like talking about how she and her dad are going to make it work financially. So really, really cool stuff with the humans because the humans are almost always the weaker part. Like nobody wants to see the humans in a Transformers story. It's all about the robots. So
Right.
I do appreciate though Daniel Warren Johnson like giving us this good, solid human story kind of at the beginning of this. And then we move into where the action is. Spike and his girlfriend fall into the Ark, which is what the giant Transformer ship is called. Uh, they fall into the Ark. They see all the Autobots and all the Decepticons there. And yeah, first of all, that scene right there, this was the preview scene where they stumble upon all the collapsed bodies. Uh, yeah, just echoing what Vinkman said. Incredible attention to detail. I actually heard I think it was one of Wes's videos I heard earlier today or yesterday that Daniel Warren Johnson, he understandably I could see where this would frustrate people or just all the detail because I think Hasbro sent him letters saying he needed to make corrections. So, just this level of detail, and I know mechanical drawings are not every artist's cup of tea. Daniel Warren Johnson, previous books, I don't think I've ever seen him draw on as many straight lines and technical, you know, machinery, in pictures as much as in this one. But he does do really, really good with it. He does amazing work. So we move on, and I think Jetfire shows up at some point. I have the issue, but I already put it in the box. So I'm just kind of going with the pictures here. Yeah, Jetfire shows up. He wakes up. Starscream, the some bitch, and yeah, like Vinkman said, first thing he does is he walks over to Bumblebee and just blast him in the head. Now, the first thing I thought was, he's a robot. Robots can come back to life whenever. But then they kind of start to explain the device that resuscitates the Transformers, and I'm like, oh shoot, maybe not. Maybe Bumblebee is gone. Maybe there is no Jetfire or Bumblebee in this, which I'm still kind of okay with. Optimus comes
Boo.
up.
Go
I'm
ahead. Keep
sorry.
going. Keep going.
As long as I get Ironhide, I'm happy.
Oh my
Ironhide's the best
goodness.
one. Uh, Optimus comes in. He's resuscitated. Clothesline Starscream. You love to see it. He suplexes Starscream. Also loves to see it. And at this point, it's just all basically it's just action city. We had the emotion, we had the family stuff, the heart of the story, and now it's just like action time. Ratchet shows up, gives him the good old Chuck Norris kick in the shoulder. Just now and then as you go on, there's this really cool scene. Optimus has found the trailer, and there's stuff in the Autobots inside of it. There's this wonderful, it's like a full page scene where he morphs into a truck and Ratchet is out, he morphs into an ambulance, and it's a beautiful scene. Yeah, Bumblebee's dead. We get it. Okay. By the way, Soundwave, coolest Decepticon of all the Decepticons. Um, so anyway, I love that too. You see all the sound effects for the transforming. It's like chunk, 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 chunk. It's really cool. Um, Optimus with the giant gun, and that's so cool. The running action shot, all of this. Daniel Warren Johnson is just shining here. Like this is beautiful, beautiful stuff. I would have loved to have a poster of that one, but this one right here, this full page of Optimus and Ratchet, it just looks so freaking cool. It almost looks like a different book. They look so realistic compared to how the Transformers looked.
I
I
like
just
this
love the way that looks.
I like how this is also sort of a nod to the audience. Like your Transformers, he knows he's writing for Transformers fans, so of course we've got to
Right.
get the Optimus Prime Ratchet transform and roll out. It's just like the cliche tropey line that he's got to say that everyone waits for. But he's aware. He knows we got to put that in the book. That's issue number 1. But
Yep.
go ahead.
It's like Captain America and Avengers book. He's got to see Avengers Assemble.
Yeah.
Yep. So, and by the way, Rhaegar, Soundwave is not boring. Okay, you know who is boring? Megatron. He couldn't even turn into a vehicle. He just turns into a giant gun.
Or
Okay?
or a giant tank. Depending on which series you're going with.
The tank is slightly better.
The gun is awesome as you're a kid, man. You can, Mom, it's a
The
transformer.
gun is awesome because it's like the only toy you have that doesn't just roll around on the ground. That's the only reason. Anyway, so yeah, the Autobots make their getaway. Of course, Ash agrees with Rhaegar.
I mean, I would say the reason he's cool is the significance of Megatron being a gun because he's deadly. He doesn't hesitate to kill.
So we see them make their getaway. Starscream is, of course, going after them, shooting at them and everything. Just all this action is incredible. I love that we get this much action in issue number 1. I think this might be the best issue number 1 of the year of any series.
Good.
Better than Void Rivals number 1.
Yeah, you're making a good argument.
I think so. Look at this. You get this dogfight between Jetfire and Starscream. I mean, again, the colors are just outstanding. I love this shot too of them landing like they're at the bottom of that quarry, and the way like the light kind of just makes it stand out against the darkness of night and everything.
Yep.
Love that scene right there. And then this is where they're Ratchet's explaining like how they're able to probably heal or resuscitate the other Autobots, but they can't do anything with Jetfire. Sorry, Ash. I know I'm making you relive this terrible thing, but
Over and over again.
over and over and over again. But it's something. It also kind of reminds me of like Walking Dead or Game of Thrones. You know how there's like this trend in a lot of these stories now where it's like no character is safe, anyone can die. I kind of get that kind of vibe from
Yep.
him in this first issue, which
Yep.
I kind of don't mind for Transformers because there are a lot of Transformers. Like if you count all the different factions and all the different individual Autobots, Decepticons, Constructicon, like there's a ton. You can afford to kill a few off. So I kind of dig that vibe for Transformers.
Gotta kill 'em all.
Also,
Right.
Soundwave is cool because he's the only Transformer that's basically a Pokemon trainer. He just throws his little minions out there. He's like, I choose you, Prowl, go. I choose you, Laserbeak. Whatever. So
I will
anyway,
say that as a
uh,
toy, Soundwave was awesome, but I agree with
Soundwave is
Rhaegar.
freaking cool.
As a character in the show, he was kind of boring.
Yeah, well, this is Dana Warren Johnson. Nothing is boring
He
here.
would, yeah, not. I wouldn't say he's boring. He was basically like he was the most loyal and the most. He's probably the best Decepticon because he got shit done.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
true.
and Laserbeak.
He was
and,
competent. He was competent,
Yeah.
and he was very loyal to Megatron. Like
He
anytime,
gave
like
no shit. He took no shit.
yeah,
I mean, he was probably to me probably the best toy because the fact that he had cassettes and he could have the little guys. He had Razorback, and then he had Laserbeak. Was a little like a
Mhm.
little bird that flew around.
Yeah, you had the bird. Then you had Prowl, was the panther, the little
Or what?
panther guy.
Or yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, and so then we get to the last series of events here where Spike's dad and his friends show up, and this poor dude. Man, this was like the guy I remember because when he shows up in the bar, he's like, this nice guy. And you're like, oh, this guy's real nice. Then they show up to the quarry. They see Starscream. He's like destroying the place. He's looking for Energon. Starscream's like, "What's
He's like
this?"
he's like Flanders walking into the mows, and be like, Homer, don't you want to be a better father to your son? Ah, screw you, Flanders. And then Flanders dies at the end.
You know what this? You know who he reminds me of? He looks like Walter White, like right after a chemo treatment or something, where his head is like shaved and everything. He's like bald. The guy that gets popped by Starscream kind of looks like Walter White. Anyway, Starscream and his maniacal villainous self reaches out, grabs the little dude, pops him like a zit, and he just looks like a bloodthirsty. I don't like Starscream. Let me rephrase. I did not like Starscream. Now I'm like, okay, Starscream has
Well,
potential.
see, this is basically when Johnson's saying this isn't your dad's Transformers.
I know. This
This
is the thing. All the Transformers have to do is step on a human.
this
Boom,
is
instant win. They never
like
do that.
this
Now
is
they
like
do.
this is basically like this is like in Transformers in the Invincible universe. It's missing his friend Otley.
Zach.
Yeah, what's that?
Transformers was a cartoon created to sell a toy to 9-year-olds. They weren't supposed
Okay.
to step on kids, and
They didn't even step on them in the Michael Bay movies. Like even recently, they didn't step on people. Like
Well,
logically, it makes
it was
sense. If you're a
because it
giant
was a
robot,
PG-13 meant to so dads could take their little kids to see a movie that wasn't going to
okay,
be a
yeah,
horror
and
show.
look at a half-dressed Megan
Wait,
Fox
wait!
on
I
screen.
gotta
Yeah,
say,
sure.
I gotta say that if it was for kids, they shouldn't have killed off Optimus Prime and made kids have nightmares and cry.
If it was for
I
kids,
didn't,
they
dude.
wouldn't
I
have
did not.
put
I did not. I don't
Megan Fox
understand.
on the screen.
No. Okay, I saw Transformers the movie in theaters in 1987. I was a kid. I didn't see it later as an adult and go back. I saw it as a kid, and everyone I know of my generation, we loved it. This idea that kids were like, nah, to me is like this myth. We all got it. Like we cheered about it because even as kids, we would watch the cartoon and be like, "This is dumb. Like no one ever dies." Like in real, if they're shooting weapons at each other, people like they should die. And we saw the movie and Transformers were dying. We're like, whoa, like, kids are not stupid. And
Yeah.
it made the movie more impactful, especially since we all knew it was fake. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, Optimus Prime's really dead.
Yeah,
Like he's a fictional
but the
character. Like,
but the kill
Yeah.
but to kill off your main star and give us Rodimus Prime, that was like a shoot at the crotch.
dude, Hot Rod was rad.
Hot Rod is pretty cool.
Yeah.
He's not
Nelson.
a swipe, but he's pretty cool.
It's like
Yeah, I mean-
it's like getting Scooter from the from the.
It's not like they
Buds.
promoted Bumblebee.
I kind of feels that way. But
No.
Anyway, those are my thoughts. Mike Spicer, dude, your color game is on point. Like
Yeah.
so hard in this. This might be some of his best work, I would venture to say.
It's very good. Everything you said, I pretty much concur with. I like that you have those opinions, even though you aren't an old time Transformers fan, like myself. I encourage you at some point in the future, when you feel like it, to give, maybe after you get some more issues under your belt and of this series, to go back and watch that Transformers, the movie
The
animated.
movie? Yeah.
It's very good. It's got lots of heart. It The things you said about this comic is kind of what that movie did. They established that, look, no one's safe. We're gonna kill some people, like, and it really made the stakes, made things matter. And it also let characters have really heroic moments. Like, I always liked Optimus Prime, mostly because I thought he was a really cool toy. And in fact,
Yeah.
he was like one Christmas, like the toy that I was like, oh, can I get an Optimus Prime? And I got him. Like, it was amazing. But I never thought, like, in the original cartoon, like, he was never my favorite character per se. He was just kind of like, the dad, of the Autobots. But in that movie is what made me an Optimus Prime fan. I came out of that movie and just been like, Optimus Prime is awesome. So that's again where I counter the myth of where people are like, it's like, no, it made me like him even more, for what he did. Also, I want to address some things that Venkman was pointing out that I had kind of forgotten. Um, so we see the shuttle launching, and I had said my interpretation was that this is a timestamp, and I do think it's a timestamp. But I also now think of going back here. We see Spike looking at the telescope, and he says, and we see his dad saying, "Is that Jimmy's?" Looking at the stars again, and we can see he's dismayed. And I think Venkman's on to something that I had kind of forgotten, because I read this like last week. So I had kind of forgotten some of the details. So I don't think that this guy right here is Jimmy per se, but I think Venkman might be on to something, that there was like perhaps an older brother, or maybe it was the dad's brother, or someone in the family that was the telescope, and possibly
could have been an
was
astronaut.
on the Challenger, because the Challenger
Yeah.
exploded when, like,
Yeah.
around 1987. Like, I forget
Right
exactly.
before I was born, I remember.
No, maybe it was
hearing about
89.
someone talk about it.
No, 87, 86, in the late 80s. Someone can Google it. I was in 7th grade. That's all I remember. So it's possible that maybe this guy, either
86.
this kid had a brother, older brother, who was an astronaut and died
Yeah. Oh, could be.
in the explosion,
Yep.
and so
Yep.
he left behind the telescope, and now the younger kid, because he says, doing this kind of reminds me of him. Why would you want to remember? And then we see a little explosion, right? It's best to forget all that. Is that how you're going to live now, just pretending he didn't exist? I'm not going to end up like him, Dad. And so
Yep.
I believe, what I'm trying to say is, I believe Venkman was more informed than I was, and I wanted to highlight that. So thank you. I do think there's something there. I do think that Daniel Warren Johnson, you said it perfectly, Zach. Like, same way. The cartoons, I hated Spike and this girl, I couldn't even remember the name. Like, I was like, just get the stupid humans off the stupid cartoon. We want to see the Transformers. It's called the Transformers. Like, I always
Right.
hated how they added stuff in like that, and it was common there. Like He-Man, they added Orko and Prince Adam and all the nonsense that was not part of the toy line. They did the same thing with the Transformers. I hated it, but under Daniel Warren Johnson, because he's so capable of writing these amazing, like, human stories of relationship and trial and loss and dealing with hardship. I mean, I feel like I'm in good, like, for the first time I'm reading, or consuming a Transformer story where I don't have any adversity towards the human characters being in it. Like, I'm actually like, oh, Because if he just wrote a story about these characters and it had nothing to do with Transformers, I would be reading it. You know, like
Mhm.
Do a Power Bomb was amazing. I don't even like pro wrestling. You know, like I was,
Yeah.
um, Murder Falcon is about a dude who was in a rock band. He's not even in a rock band anymore. Like, and it's just like what he's able to do with character drama is astounding. And so in a single first issue, I think you Zach gave really solid argument that I hadn't considered until you mentioned it for like best debut issue of a new series.
Mhm.
I've been thinking about that since you've been talking, and I cannot think of a better like example, like because it just hits all the numbers. It gets the family drama,
Right.
it gets the fan service, right? Because this is, we have to recognize that Transformers is a commodity, like it's been around for generations now. So it has like its fan base. So you have to give the fans a little of what they expect and want. So you got to deliver
Right.
there. It's a comic book, so it should have action, right? It shouldn't just have people standing around talking about their feelings, right? Um,
Yep.
and so it does. Like Daniel Warren Johnson has multiple scenes where it's like, let's get some cool action. It's a visual medium. Let's have some, let's think about the compositions of the pages, get some cool character poses, different fight scenes, like the suplex. It seems like all three of us agree. We just love that. Um, the rollout scene is awesome. Like just and the colors and the explosions. He hits every single thing, and he does it in, I don't mean how many pages this first issue is. 30 something pages. Uh, just phenomenal. And it's only like the story hasn't even started. This is just essentially an introduction. Like here's
Yeah.
some characters and they're off. Like that's all. There's not much here, but
I,
he manages to
like,
take that and make it feel so fulfilling,
yeah,
which is
I'm
why.
torn. I love Daniel Orange's art, but I also like Ryan Otley's art when it comes to like stuff like this.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, if it had been Ryan Otley, I don't think it'd be have the same feeling because the fact because you have an artist and you have a writer.
Yeah.
When the artist is telling the story, he can draw the art the way to tell his story he's doing. He sees it in his head, versus a writer has to writes the story to the art. You
Right.
know,
So
That's a
part of
valid point.
the
I had forgotten about that because this is a writer and artist. He's
right.
doing both. He's doing
Yep.
double
yeah,
duty, which
yeah,
we've seen all the time. You either do that and you do it really well, or you do it and it's like really mediocre. And Daniel Warren
Most
Johnson
m-
is the really
most of
good
the
one.
time a writer artist that's both a writer and artist, usually
Mhm.
one suffers, right? Like Jeff
Right.
Lemire, sometimes he draws his own comics and they suck, right? Like Jeff Lemire is not a good artist. I'm sorry. He's just not. Like I
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of his writing, but I can't buy most of his books because he insists on drawing them. Like it's and then there's Brian Hitch,
Frank
great
Miller's the same
artist.
way.
Great artist. In Rebirth, Justice League sucked because he was the writer. It's like, no,
Mhm.
Brian Hitch, just go back to writing. Like so it's rare that you can get that, but when they do, they really shine. Daniel Warren Johnson is one of those. I'm becoming a huge fan. Like just I'll pretty much get anything he does now. But part of the reason I'm lamenting so much about Jetfire is because he's a Transformer that came later. He wasn't really
Mhm.
part of the original generation of Transformers. So he didn't get a lot of like limelight. Like he wasn't even I don't even think he was in the Transformers movie. I think he came after. Um so he's never really had any like fictional presence. So part of the reason I like him so much is because where he exists is mostly in my imagination. I've had to fill in the blanks and like wonder, oh, how would he fit in the storyline, if we did it. Um and I love that in the canon, if you will, like one of the main story ideas is that he was part of what Starscream was a part of. Like, but way back before there was just Autobots and Decepticons, there was like kind of like a third group, and um, Jetfire was a part of that. And when Starscream and all the whatever they were called aligned with Megatron in the war, Sky Jetfire was the only dissenter and been like, no, I'm not going to do this. And of course, then he became the enemy, and then he ended up having to join the Autobots. It's just a really interesting dynamic. And now I'm like, oh, I'm going to get my favorite Transformer, and I'm going to get one of my favorite creators in comics doing him. Nope, you're not. He's dead. And just like, no, what do you don't know? So that's why I'm lamenting so much. But it's going to be, we can just already tell we're in great hands. And then finally at the end here, the squish, like, you're right. I mean, I don't want to see like humans getting squished. That's not really like, I don't enjoy that. But I like the tone that it's setting, that, yeah, this is a scary, like, these are like, this is what we'd have to be afraid of. Like, if humans were facing off against Transformers, like, we're not just rubber dolls like in a cartoon. Like, we're flesh and blood, and
Right.
we would be. So it sets the tone. I don't think Daniel Warren Johnson's going to be doing wholesale slaughter of humanity or anything. I just think that, I'm guessing here, that's just him wanting to set the tone that, yeah, Starscream is a bastard. And he's a, like, this is how you write villains, right? You got to make the audience hate him so that you root for the hero to stop him. So yeah, I love this. I mean, I expected to like it because it's Daniel Warren Johnson, but he doesn't disappoint. So here's the Energon universe. Next issue, which I guess we're going to see the military run into Starscream next. I hope it doesn't get too human centric. There's one thing I didn't like about the Michael Bay movies.
Yeah.
Was it like it was like humans versus the Transformers? I was like, I like the cartoon kind of better, where the Transformers just kind of stayed hidden, and it was them fighting
right.
themselves. But either way, I'm sure whatever story he has in store for us will be good. Let's see. Rhaegar says Optimus Prime became Captain America after that movie in the MCU. Yeah,
Oh yeah.
I agree. Actually, technically, since he died, Iron Man may be a more appropriate comparison. Nope. Captain America was right on. Challenger exploded 86 earlier the year, and we talked about that. Wait, you don't want to see them talking about feelings in the giant Transformers size hallway?
No,
No.
that is not why I'm getting Transformers.
No. And it's, here's the thing. It's not that I don't want to see characters talk about their feelings. It's just, remember that it's a comic book and we want like action. So if you have a page or 2 or 3 of like characters talking about their feelings, that's fine. Just, I don't want to like 22 pages of nonstop headshots of characters just talking about each other. And like, what is this?
You know
Go
what
ahead.
I want? I want Optimus Prime at a coffee shop with Megatron, sitting down, both having coffee. I'm wondering, will we see Ultra Magnus in this? You know, Transformers. He was the brother of Optimus Prime. He looked like Optimus.
Ultra Magnus. Oh yeah, that's the thing. Okay, so we go back now to the question of like the timeline and the continuity. Where does this take place? Because
Yeah,
it obviously has to take place before the movie if it is tied in. It seems to me that this is a slightly Elseworlds-ish kind of take, like almost like a soft reboot, and it's starting off with the Transformers essentially not just arriving on Earth, like they arrived however many millennia previous, but the ship had been like buried under the mountain, and they had just been deactivated until Jetfire shows up with the Energon and says, "Oh, okay, I'm here to help you guys." But so this is basically the beginning of their existence, like conscious existence on Earth. and being discovered by humanity. So that basically put them right at the beginning of like the cartoon series.
Mhm.
That's what it seems like, except the fact that Bumblebee's dead, Jetfire's dead, seems to indicate, okay, this is not
So
exactly the story we know. There's a slight rebooting.
yeah, slight reboot, and just said this time we're gonna remove some of these characters and maybe introduce some other new, maybe we get some new Transformers. We don't know. Wouldn't that be something?
Yeah, especially if Hasbro makes new stuff. That would be interesting. I would like it. Like, I'm a huge fan of the Transformers movie. Um, I liked Rodimus Prime, or Hot Rod before he becomes Rodimus Prime. I liked Ultra Magnus. The whole storyline of Ultra Magnus basically being the the he's kind of like the Optimus Prime who couldn't, like, um I really like that. And like, he was supposed to be like, everyone like looked at him and like, you're the next Optimus Prime, but he wasn't Optimus Prime, but everyone had those expectations on him and he couldn't. And he had to, sorry, spoiler, Zach, he kind of had to defer essentially eventually to Hot Rod, who no one looked at. Like, he was just like, Hot Rod's this kid who's like, he's kind of still immature and doesn't got his shit together, but ultimately he would become the new Prime. And it's just a great hero journey. That's what makes that Transformers movie so fantastic to me. It's just a fantastic hero journey movie. And Rodimus, no fault to him, like, not everyone can be Optimus Prime, and the fact that he was able to step down and have that self-awareness and realize, like, look, I don't need to be the top dog, like, I just need to be here for my friends, I thought made his character way cool. um so I would love to see those characters introduced.
Yep.
Noticing here, on this advertisement, I don't know if this is just an alternate cover or sake of it, or if it has
Like,
anything to do.
he's
um
from Cybertron,
that's Shockwave, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, he was in Void Rivals. Last issue.
Yeah,
Oh,
he's the one that's looking over Cybertron when everyone's gone.
Hmm.
spoilers. Get Void Rivals if you're into Transformers. um
It all ties together.
Somebody,
oh,
I forget who it was, but somebody was saying they don't want they were mad that GI Joe was in the same continuity or same universe as Transformers, and I say right there, it's like they've been separate for how many years? Just feel like they're
They've been
together.
in the same universe before. Like there
yeah,
have
they were
been
in the same
GI
universe for a
Joes.
long time.
Where
Yeah,
in the comics? Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
when they were with
well,
Marvel.
When IDW had
I,
them, there were multiple GI Joe Transformers
well,
crossovers.
I never read the comics. I just watched the cartoons. So
No, I'm
I'm
not
just
even
saying.
talking about
And the movies,
IDW.
yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
talking about IDW.
And
When
Marvel, they were.
Transformers in the 80s, when Transformers and GI Joe were both Marvel series,
Mm,
the policy of Marvel was their comics all existed in the same world. That's why Spider-Man guest starred in a GI Joe issue. I think
he
it
was
was GI
also
Joe,
in
or was it
Transformers.
Transformers?
Transformers.
Transformers, one of the two. So so Transformers and GI Joe did exist in the same world at that time. Now, they didn't always just cross over. Back then in the 80s, I really appreciated how Marvel did keep the series mostly separate, but just informed you that their storylines existed in the same world, so that it was always that they could cross over. When I'm looking at this cover here for next issue, this
It's
makes
like
sense
GI
to me.
Joe.
If you're gonna introduce humans interacting with Transformers, it would only make sense that like America be like, let's get our greatest like fighting team. That.
I'm gonna say right now, even though it's a pilot, this isn't gonna be a GI Joe's introduced. I think GI Joe's is not gonna be introduced to Duke comes out.
Oh no, I
No,
don't
no,
think that's a
I
GI
don't think
Joe.
that. I don't.
All I'm saying
Yeah,
is that if you're gonna introduce the military, if you're gonna
yeah.
say Transformers are fighting the military, then that like opens the gateway to say, well, why? Okay, GI Joe can. We'll see. I've liked everything they were doing so far. So until they fail, I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt.
I just wanted them to have the glowing stacking the glowing cubes. Is there energon cubes stacking up? the
So
cartoon
so
series.
speaking of Duke and Cobra Commander, um,
Oh,
uh,
there's the ship. There's the Ark in the background. And the Cobra Commander. That's the Ark.
oh, is it?
It looks to me like it
It
is.
looks similar.
And then Starscream's on Duke's.
Could
I don't know.
be.
I think we could get a GI Joe tease in Transformers. We got a Transformers tease in Void Rivals. So I mean, if it's all in the same universe, they're gonna have that crossover. So
I'm looking at the snakes on the bottom of Cobra Commander, and I'm like, I wonder if it's gonna cross over with firepower.
wouldn't that be wild? Robert
Uh,
Kirkman surprise.
right?
If it does, Owen's wife's gonna take out all Cobra. One,
um, yeah, I don't know. So both of these issues are Joshua Williamson, which tend to like. When Josh Williamson is on, he's good. I think he's overworked, and I think his work is
Yeah.
suffering for it. So
hmm
hopefully this has got some inspiration. I think the fact that he's working with Robert Kirkman, I'm guessing Robert Kirkman's going to be some sort of like de facto editor for these books. So I think that will help him be even, be better. Like when he's at DC, I mean, he's talking to idiots that don't know anything. Um,
That's true. It could be like Jim Zub too. At Marvel, Jim Zub couldn't write Conan for crap, but put him on what is it, a Blaze or Titan Comics Conan, and
yeah,
it's
Doug's.
actually good.
Thanks, Doug. Doug's saying there's a limited GI Joe versus Transformers. That's the extent of their crossover between these two properties.
I mean, look, they're both owned by Hasbro. I really don't see why Hasbro. It's not efficient to keep them separate. I think that you can have them both in the same universe and it works out just fine.
you just got to be careful when you're crossing over stuff like that. The two different
Don't
lines.
cross
I
the
know
streams,
when I
Zach.
was a kid, I was like, yeah, I don't want my chocolate mixed with my peanut butter sort of thing. I was like, keep it separate. Too much is too much of that. Just it waters it down.
Can't you agree, Zach? Keep them separate.
Nope, I did not say that. That was Ash that said that. That was not me. I want to make that abundantly clear. It was
Separate
nothing that I said about being separate but
Transformers
equal.
and GI Joe are separate but equal.
God.
I'm just kidding. I know. Um, yeah, I like the idea that they exist in the same world and may encounter each other sometimes. I really like when the stories just focus
I want
on
a Doctor.
themselves.
I want a Doctor Who Transformers transfer where the TARDIS is revealed to be an Autobot. Sorry.
The cool thing about the Energon universe, especially if it is like a soft reboot type of thing,
Yeah.
is it allows you to kind of tell a what if story. It allows you to be like, well, what if the Transformers, came to Earth, but this was an Earth where GI Joe, type of thing, and explore that. Versus if you aren't interested in that, there's going to be a separate GI Joe series that picks up from
Yep.
the old Marvel one, and it's going to be Larry Hama, starting with issue 301, and so they will be different, right? They'll be similar because it's going to have the same characters, but the, they're kind of in different universes with different events motivating their decisions. So
Are these going to be like limited series, Duke and Commander? Like,
I
are
think
they?
they're just
It's
one
gonna
shots.
They might be
because
like one shot introductions or something.
I think
are they
they're
gonna
yeah.
because the next one's going to be called GI Joe, right?
I believe so.
Possibly.
Yeah, the other GI Joe book that's the continuation, I believe, is called Greatest American Hero.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so it'll be obvious because one will have the EU logo, like you see here, um, and then the other one won't. So if you're at all curious,
You know, I wouldn't be surprised if you get to see for the JJ covers, they're gonna have like, hey, this is such a kind of variant, or not, or not, not such kind of thing, but the Cobra Kai, Cobra Commander variant. You know, that you're gonna have the Cobra variant, and then you're gonna have the main cover is GI Joe. You know, because
Yeah. Oh, here's the real American
honest,
hero one.
yeah. Which
Keep going. I wasn't meaning to cut you off.
no. I'm just saying because we know how companies are like to do variants. So we've had at least what three cover variants for Void Rivals. Imagine you're gonna have that for well, a lot more for GI Joe because the Transformers had like over 40. At least I
Right.
felt that way.
The Kirkman is usually pretty tame about that stuff. He doesn't try to really exploit his fans, which I appreciate.
But this is Image though, and this is a really big property for them. I could see them doing for GI Joe the same amount of covers as they did
No, this is Robert
Transformers.
Kirkman. Image is just the
Yeah, but
publisher.
I'm saying
Image doesn't
you're,
work as a publisher like all the other publishers. Image works like a book publisher where they don't control the property. They just publish the stuff for you and take a little bit of
so
the
like
cut. So
Kirkman, or say,
IDW, the difference is like IDW or Marvel or whatever, the publisher would own the rights and then they would go contract creators to make the product for them. With Image, the creator owns the rights and then they go to Image and say, hey, will you publish our book? And Image says, okay, we're going to negotiate whatever fees that they're going to get paid on their side. But the creator controls everything. So in this case, Skybound, which is Robert Kirkman's imprint, is sort of like is what you should be looking at as like the publisher, the way you would look at IDW.
my point is you're gonna see the same amount of variants you saw for Transformers for this first issue with GI Joe. Yeah, and I'm curious to see how many variants there are going forward.
You will see variants. What I was trying to say is that Robert Kirkman seems to be a little more reserved and not fully just exploiting his fans with a bunch of gimmicks and bullshit. But I guess that could change anytime. So
Where's the soundtrack? Getting Warren Johnson. I was wondering that because he already does he always does the soundtrack for his stuff.
It's called Transformers the movie. That's the soundtrack. You got the touch.
They're just gonna bring in Sam Bush and have him do some songs.
Rhaegar says the next one's gonna be called Trans Joes. No, IDW already did that one. Doug Johnson says, I doubt Hama will be moving a Raw in the Energon universe, so it will likely be separate and continue the original. Yes, this book, G.I. Joe Real American Hero, is going to be
separate.
Larry Hama's book, and it's going to, for everything that I understand, is this is starting in issue 301. This is continuing right where the Marvel series left off on issue 300. So it's not going to.
Hey.
That means there's the IDW stuff didn't exist. It's the Marvel run and then into this run. And because of that, it's not going to be Energon at all.
I hope they write Scarlet, or she's on the bottom right there, is basically being an angry Black Widow.
That's not really what Scarlet is, though.
I don't know. I didn't ever watch it.
Well, now educate yourself.
I'm being a Zach here.
I'm not necessarily as interested in this. I am going to be interested in the Energon stuff because I like what's happening. And if I go back to this is kind of Robert Kirkman telling me that this is a adult version. Like it's not necessarily going to be like grotesque or uber violent, but it's not going to pull punches.
It's the boys.
And here's the thing. One of the things I hated is I loved G.I. Joe as a kid. Like I was even more into G.I. Joe toys than I was Transformer toys. Even though I didn't really get into the G.I. Joe fiction because it wasn't nearly as good in my opinion. And I always hated how like even more than Transformers, like okay, you got American military badasses versus this like evil terrorists ascension, and they're shooting each other and no one ever dies. Like why you have guns and no one ever gets shot and dies, right? Like it's like here Duke's got an M16. But now I feel like people are going to get shot and die. Like and that's all I want. Not that I want to see lots of death. I just want to know that guns are lethal. That's all I want to know.
I
So,
just want to see it with bullets. That was my
Yeah,
biggest problem
bullets.
with the cartoons is they used lasers.
so my thing is that we saw how Bumblebee was shot in the face. Which GI Joe and Duke is gonna get killed?
There are a lot of Joes.
Yeah,
There are a lot
there's
of
a lot of
Joes.
Joes. A lot of
What
Joes.
what are the, when they say go Joe, one of them's gonna die. I want Joe. He's dead.
Well, look, even if it's like Cobra Troopers dying, the Cobra Troopers didn't
Yeah,
even die in the old cartoons. Like
that's
you could
true.
be
The
you,
the nameless henchmen. Yeah.
yeah, like
Yeah.
no one.
Oh,
It was all because, of course, it had to be like rated G. But in this, I
I just
feel like Kirkman is going to take it up a notch and add some lethality, which
I
adds
want to
tension.
see people losing. I want to see people getting their arms shot off. I want to see like holes and like
Oh my
Okay, I don't think
goodness!
he's gonna give us torture porn
Right?
or body horror.
why is it porn if it's torture?
That
It's
it's a term. It's like the Saw movies. People go to see it just to see how gruesome it can be.
well,
Yeah.
They don't go for story or to be scared.
I'm just saying it's like watching or reading a Wolverine comic and nobody gets decapitated or nobody gets their arm sliced off, but he has these cool claws that cut through anything. Just saying, common sense.
Speaking of common sense, get you some Murder Falcon. Deluxe hardcover available now. This is one of the best comics I've read in recent years. Absolutely. This is the best thing Daniel Warren Johnson's done. I can't believe more people don't talk about this. Um, let's see. Doug Johnson says,
Ooh,
nope, the
no.
IDW stuff did exist because it ended at 300. I thought the Marvel stuff ended at 300. Maybe I'm wrong about
I thought
this.
it was the Marvel stuff too.
So if I'm being corrected, I appreciate that because I don't want to be wrong. Um,
Because Ash is right. That's what his Twitter
Always.
handle
that's
says.
right. So so Doug, are you saying, Doug, that this is picking up after when did the Marvel series end? Does
I don't know.
anyone
Let me
know?
look.
You don't recall.
I'm too young to remember that shit.
Larry Hama did write, I believe, some stuff for IDW.
He might, yeah, I believe he did.
So makes sense. I apologize if I stated incorrectly. I
There's
thought
Transformers Universe. There's Trans. What was the one for Transformers from Marvel? Was it called this Transformers Universe? Oh no, this was Transformers 84. There you go.
Transformers. No, we're talking about GI Joe.
Oh, sorry, that Joe. My bad. I'm so out of it now.
Well, we can
G.I.
just
Joe.
look up the Google. Marvel ran GI Joe from 82 to 94. Um, Doug says he doesn't think Marvel made it to 200.
Does
Uh,
seem like a long time. I mean, I know Marvel series were better and they ran longer, but 200 does seem like a while.
no, 200 is a lot. I mean, you only do 12 issues a year, right? So
Yeah.
10 years is only 120 issues. Um, so so yeah, I
Hold on.
mean, I'm actually more surprised that IDW would have continued the
So
numbering.
no. G.I. Joe, a real American went to 300 at Marvel.
Okay, so it is continuing. Well, that's what the article said too. Was that it would be continuing the Marvel running?
Which went to 300. And
Yeah.
Don Perlin and Herb Trimpe in it.
Are you sure? Because I'm reading here on Wikipedia, everyone's favorite trustworthy source of information.
I'm
Um,
looking on the pirate site, which is
IDW also revived the original G.I. Joe Real American Hero continuity as an ongoing series in 2010 with a special issue number 155 and a half released on Free Comic Book Day, following with issue 156 onwards in July. So I'm assuming 155 was the last Marvel issue. Series written by
hold
Larry
on.
Hama lasted till December 2022, concluding with issue 300. The series is set to resume again with issue 301 under new license holder Skybound Entertainment in November.
Okay, 155 was Marvel. 156
Yep.
is IDW.
So there we go.
Okay.
All right. We settled it. We got the answer. And that's why I'm right, is because I'm willing to be wrong.
I was right the whole entire time. Blame Ash.
Blame me. Um, but thank you, Doug. Thank you for bringing that correction and making sure that because I don't want to it's not my goal to deceive
but it
anyone.
it was all Larry Hama though. So you're getting Larry Hama from the very
Yep.
beginning of it.
No, like I said, I'm more surprised that IDW continued the numbering, right? Because it's so common nowadays. Everyone's got to get that number one. It's like,
But
Yeah.
yeah, but the thing is that there was somebody gets a headshot in 156 with Larry Hama at IDW. So, you know, dang, people are dying in the comic books. They didn't hold punches.
oh yeah, Larry Hama killed Snake Eyes. That's why I'll never read his book.
He had to go.
He killed Snake
Snake
Eyes.
Eyes.
Then he made
No.
a new Snake Eyes. Then he made a female Snake Eyes.
If
And it's
there's
like,
any Joe left standing, it's going to be Snake Eyes.
and you know me, I ain't about legacy characters, especially legacy Snake Eyes and race swap or sorry, gender
Well,
swap.
I thought the female one was like his apprentice.
oh
I don't
man,
know. I don't know. It's a point of contention. I try to block it out.
you can't block it out.
I can too. Don't tell me what I can do.
You can do it, man.
You have no idea how high I can fly.
All right, we need to bring this ship into a landing.
Crash landing is my specialty.
Yes, that is your specialty. Crashing and
Yep.
burning.
Any crash you can walk away from is a victory.
What? That's not how that works.
I don't think that's the right saying. I'm not sure, but I don't think it's right.
So here we have a black screen that I need to transition over here. Here we have the comics coming out this Wednesday. And boy, does it
Yes.
look awful.
We got Spider-Man who's infected with Norman Osborn's sins. That's why he's evil.
Oh yeah, evil Spider-Man. I'm so excited.
And Mary Jane with her own powers now is facing against Spider-Man. I saw the leaks for it, dude. It looks horrible.
Powers now, like she hasn't had powers. She wasn't jackpot for the last 8 months. Like it's not new.
No. And I'm just saying for those who haven't been following it because of how horrible it is since Nick Spencer was kicked off.
So the last 8 months, or longer than 8 months.
Nothing's
changed.
In the past 3 issues, she suddenly got powers.
She's had powers.
No, she's never had powers.
She had powers during the whole what was the event? Gosh dog it.
Dark. What it's called?
Dark something. Yeah, she had power. She was jackpot. There's all those Mary Jane Black Cat issues that Jeff McKay wrote, where she was jackpot.
Oh, I'm sorry, Zach. You follow this more closely than I do. I hate Zell with the passion.
Yeah,
he's the one person I would punch if I came across.
you gotta stay educated about stuff.
Well, what do you think about Black Widow being in Venom?
So I saw
being the new Venom.
Well, she's the new Venom. It looks like she's fighting Venom
for like 6 months. Yeah, well, you didn't see the cover for the next issue.
Oh, well, we can fix that. We have the technology.
You know what? I'm actually going to go back. You got Torrin Groenbeck who's been writing this. She's been knocking the out of the park on the Red Sonja book.
Yeah, but her Thor was kind of meh.
Yeah, but the Thor's always been kind of meh since Straczynski left.
Everyone gets a symbiote.
Really? Donny Cates Thor?
meh.
Black
It
Widow.
was better than it's better than most.
I mean, if you're
But
gonna give a character a symbiote, I guess Black Widow kind of is set up for that,
well,
because she doesn't even have
my
to change her name. It's already like,
yeah,
but
my other thing is like the problem part of this case is Venom is you do just Dylan, and
Dylan was
Dylan's
rad.
become yeah, but the problem with that someone introduces a character and then they're off the book. Someone else uses that character and perverts it.
Right. The problem with
Look at this.
Dylan is the same problem with John Kent. They could not
Exactly.
resist aging him up and giving him all these powers, and he's going to take over his dad's like they can't resist. What made
That was
Dylan
Kate.
rad was being
Yeah.
the son for
That
the
was Al
main
Ewing.
character to be the dad. And then they have to break it, they have to ruin it every time. John Kent, Dylan.
That was Al Ewing, everybody's favorite writer.
I'm like scrolling around, and I just don't see anything good.
Yeah, Doug. Yeah, dude.
There's a handful. I only have 4 issues on my pull list this
Yeah,
week.
I. So get ready for your apples tomorrow night because somebody decided to pick up a Dan Slott book. It's not me.
It's a Christos Gage
Who
book.
would pick up a Dan Slott book?
It's a Christos Gage book.
Well, here's my pull list.
Nathan's just trying to instigate.
No, Dan Slott's on the book. It's listed as the writer.
It says story. He's not the writer. The writer is Christos Gage. Go back and actually
Christos
read
Gage.
it.
Christos Gage is often called in to fill it, to pick up for Dan Slott because he can't make deadlines.
He's a good writer though.
Sometimes. I believe that he can write good stories, but he's not the kind of writer where I'll just like trust anything that he does.
Something Epic #6 is coming out.
Oh, this is a good book.
It's been one of the best indie books I've come across. That I wasn't even looking for. It just kind of popped up one day, and we were like, "What the hell is this?" Picked it up. Don't click on that one, please.
Which one?
You know, all over to the right.
The werewolf.
Either one of those. I don't want. It's not gonna be like I'm thinking that the Moon Knight versus Werewolf. I'm like, oh, maybe it will be like a reprint of old tales. No, it's gonna be modern writers on it. Same with the Cat
No,
Wolf.
there is a reprinting of Werewolf by Night versus Moon Knight. I don't know if it's this week or if it's next week.
I am moderately curious about this.
It's Tony Fleeks, man. I'm getting it. I don't care.
It's Tony Fleeks.
Nick Dragota,
also dude. Nick Dragota and Justin Greenwood.
And Arthur Sudan.
Those are some good.
This is an Army of Darkness book that Skip might have picked up.
As I said, as soon as I saw it, I was like, I'm so sad because this would be the first book that he gets that's Army of Darkness.
So, yeah, like
Transformers, it is just blow after blow. It just sucks.
Yeah, I might have to check this out.
Rhaegar, hate to burst your bubble, but Iron Man already had a symbiote armor in what was it, the Null thing story. Oh look, mech cadets! Yay! You get into space, Usagi?
Probably. I do. I'm not as big into Space Usagi as regular Usagi. I'm a little bit weirded out by this because it says the Space Usagi, but then when I look at it, it just looks like normal Usagi. Space Usagi, he's got like a laser gun, and it's like space opera.
There was another Usagi book out last week.
Yeah, that's the new series because they moved over to Dark Horse.
Okay. Sonic Bloodborne's out. Yeah, I was looking at 2 of the books. I'm looking like, oh, there's a few books I'm getting, but not really that much.
My problem that I'm facing though is Dark Horse sells all their books for $4.99. Yeah. And so I'm like, there's like that principal part of me that's like I don't want to support $5 comics, no matter if like they're good. I will pay a little extra for comics if they're like bigger comics and things like that, or if they're just like completely utterly amazing. Sometimes I'll bite the bullet, but like Gru, I like Gru quite a bit. Dark Horse, why can't you just do an ongoing series? Don't they just do these like mini series over and over and over and over again, and then they're $5, and I just don't like the way. I'm like, I guess I'll just collect those in trades.
Well, you can always get War of the Gods. It's $1.75 before
What?
DC reprints.
Oh,
The DC facsimile, Wonder Woman, War of the Gods. That's yeah, I hear you, man. Like, Marvel is going up to $4.99 for all their books going forward. So, the Saturday morning cartoon book I'm getting, the Turtles, is $7.
ugh. Yeah. See, I don't want to support that. Like,
Yeah, for a one
can't
shot.
do it.
But I'm curious. I haven't looked to see why it's $7. I wonder if it's actually got more.
Be the ending.
Could be pages.
What's the name of the book again? Is it coming out this week?
Yeah, it's only Turtles book on there. Saturday Morning Adventures. It's a one shot. It doesn't say how many pages there though. It's a double size book, but it's going towards Eric Burnham and Dan Schoening, who I both love. They're both awesome guys. So
Oh, it's a Halloween special. Yeah, it's probably like a big, thick book.
double size, so it's gonna be like 48 pages from that. But
Uh, yeah. So, this is gonna be a slow week. I don't know what we're gonna read for next. I guess maybe we could do the ones we were supposed to do last week. Void Rivals and
well, have you jumped on Blade yet?
no, I haven't jumped on Blade. I mean, I'd be willing to. Well, I don't want. What issue is it on
Blade.
now? 4,
There's
issue
Blade.
4.
Yeah, it's for this week. And then I'm also reading The Madness, which is issue 3 with the J. Michael Straczynski book. But I'm definitely getting Army of Darkness Forever though, and Batman, Robin, and Green Lantern. I know Zach's getting Green Lantern.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm gonna leave it to you guys then to uh, decide like what should we do, because I only have one book coming out and neither of you guys are interested in it, and it's not a book that you can just really jump in and read an
Undiscovered
issue.
Country. I was like, I was tempted to jump and read the preview, but I'm like, eh.
Yeah, it's a book you're gonna want to start in the beginning. So
Like I said, Army of Darkness is I'm really intrigued by that. It's been a while since I've had a good Ash book.
I'm very intrigued, and this is called Ash on Comics. I would be 100% okay with that, but I don't want to push that on either of you guys. It sounds like you, Venkman, are into it. What about you, Zach? If is that your thing, or are you just like not interested?
I mean, I'm not super interested, but I mean, it's your show too. So like, if
It's
y'all want
our
to
show,
read like
buddy. It's ours.
our show, well, your name is on the channel. No, I mean, I could give it a shot and give that kind of coming in with fresh eyes kind of perspective.
And
There's
all
also Wesley Dodd Sandman #1.
which Zach's getting. I'm probably just gonna pirate that.
So I don't even need to show up tomorrow night. Venkman's just spoiling my whole top 5.
Well, Zach's also getting
No, he just said you're getting it. He didn't say that was going to be in your top 5 anticipated.
I'm only getting 5 books.
Well, now you spoiled it.
I said earlier, it's like it's not a big week. Next week or the week after next week will be a fairly large.
Are you, so you're not getting Kaya anymore? Weren't you reading that?
I wasn't
Ash?
reading Kaya. Ash was.
Yeah.
No, I never was reading Kaya.
I thought you were reading Kaya. No, he was reading Krona. That's what it
Oh,
was.
okay,
Chroma.
guys.
I did
Very
read the
similar.
first issue of Kaya, and it was okay.
Ooh. There's a American Psycho book out this week. The heck? Greg Staples, best for his own work on Judge Dredd, is a concept writer for Magic the Gathering, brings his realistic painterly style to capture likeness of Christian Bale's Patrick Bateman.
So you want to do Green Lantern? Because guess who's
Yeah.
back? Your boy's writing Flash in the Green Lantern book.
Yeah,
Yep.
but I think it's Barry.
Barry though, it's not Wally. It's Barry.
Yeah.
Well, like
But
I said Flash.
And
I didn't say
and
wannabe
I
Flash.
Tomasi has.
Oh.
It looks like Tomasi has a little
Well-
short story in there too.
well, you should have said want to be a Flash because Jake Garrick's a Flash.
That's true. Jake Eric was first. Anyway, Peter Tomasi, there's like a little story bit in there with Tomasi writing as well.
What is
So
this?
that's kind of interesting.
Just looking at some of the other books coming out. That was before. Ethan Sachs is Nami Sachs.
Marania says go back and click on the Wonder Woman War of the Gods thing. She wants to confirm something.
Confirm
Right.
what? It's a reprint.
Yeah,
It's-
it's just a reprint, Marania.
Did I miss
And
it already?
I mean, I just read it off. I mean, it's an
Is it
they may
higher?
not show
No.
it anywhere.
It's not going to be up higher. It's a facsimile.
Yeah, I thought. I mean, it's not way down the list, is it? Because
No, it's the only way you find out is if you actually go through your filters and add like something.
what? No, it's not a.
Nah, it'll show on the list.
Is it not? Yeah, if it's an issue, it should show up.
Yeah, keep going. I mean, facsimile isn't going to be in super duper high demand either.
Yeah, especially a Wonder Woman one.
Unfortunately, sad but true.
Well, there just hasn't been any like epic Wonder Woman stories that are like.
It's true. The
And I don't
last
mean to
good one, I
say that
think,
no
was
one's
Dana
written a
Warren
good
Johnson.
Wonder Woman story. I mean to say like there's no like super popular like Dark Knight Returns that just like sells year after year after year like Wonder like
What you have to do is you actually have to go into your format into your under filters and click on variants and reprints, and it shows up.
what?
Yep, it's a reprint.
Yeah, list. That makes stuff so difficult.
There's
Look
a-
at
there's-
Comic
there's-
Geeks do
there's-
better.
Just like Daredevil 183 facsimiles out this week as well.
So you're looking for just War of the Gods, not Wonder Woman. It's
See, the
just
thing
all
is, I
War
don't
of the
want
Gods.
variants. I just want reprints. Why don't put them together?
I know, I
Just
hate it too.
scroll all the way down. It's listed alphabetically, not by who's getting what. It should be alphabetically. Well, there's some W's, but
No, this is
I thought
done
it was
in.
well. Never mind.
Nope. Are you looking on the mobile?
No, I'm
No.
on my computer.
No, because the mobile doesn't do it, and it does. It doesn't sort the same.
I also have it limited to just DC books too. So
Oh yeah.
you could do that. Go up to a publisher's. You know what
Good
I found
lord.
out today?
This is how many
There
freaking.
you go. There you go. All the way to the left.
There we go. Jeez Louise, like tooth and nail.
I know, isn't it stupid? Well, the reason I knew about it because I looked at because when I saw they're doing the part 1 and part 2 at my shop, I went on like a Comic Geeks, typed it in, and then I just kept going like next series. So I had my pull list, so I knew when it was coming out. Otherwise, I never would know. Just like the other one, Daredevil 183, where Punisher is shooting Daredevil in the stomach. That's coming out this week too. The facsimile. So
It says continued from Wonder Woman 61, but this is number 4 of 4. Shouldn't it be continued
the
of
event
issue
is-
3?
these are just the main books. And you,
Oh
and you
my
have,
goodness.
yeah.
I'm
This is a
looking.
4-part event.
Yeah, but it says continued from Wonder Woman 61. So this must be one of those crossovers where it's like dipping in and out of all these different books.
Maybe.
Yeah,
But
yeah. It's a Perez Wonder Woman.
yeah, if you're gonna get classic Wonder Woman, it's gonna be Perez, right?
Yep.
Pretty much.
Is there any old Wonder Woman that's valued for its.
Besides Perez, yeah.
Yeah.
Not that I can think of.
I mean, other than just the old stuff that's valued because it's old.
There really is one War of the Gods.
I
It's
did
is
like I like the oh gosh, is it Gail Simone? The one that had all the Adam Hughes covers. Might have been before Gail Simone.
it's the only one. It's the only work. It's the only one there is. Yeah, there is no other War of the Gods with Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman's dead. Superheroes gather for revenge on Circe in New Olympus. A battle follows. The heroes and gods will die. Final secret of Captain Marvel will be revealed.
So Doug says Silver Surfer Rebirth looks cool.
Nah, don't do it, Doug. Don't fall for it. It's
With
not really
Black
about
Surfer
Silver
with a
Surfer.
hammer.
Ghost Surfer, yeah.
So if you're into, okay, so this is just a variant, by the way. This is not actually going to be part of the story.
I know. I think that's
This
supposed
is
to be an
Silver
homage
Surfer.
to Thanos.
Yeah, this is
That
Silver
Thanos
Surfer
movie.
Black. If
Yeah.
you're into this, Doug, go look up a
There's a
story
story.
called Thanos Wins. It's
Yeah.
from a 18 issue series back in like 2017, 2018. It started with Jeff Lemire, who wrote the first 12 issues. And then Donnie Cates took over on issue 13 through 18. And you can if you want. I read the whole thing, but you can if you want to start at issue number 13. Donnie Cates came in, and this is what put him on the map. He wrote one of the best Thanos stories I've ever read. And in that story, this Silver Surfer that you see on this cover makes an appearance. And I won't say anything more because I don't want to spoil anything, because it's best to just, but that's what this is from. And he's so popular because of that story. Donnie Cates would later go write a miniseries called Silver Surfer Black, which is tied into that. It does take place before that story, so you could read Silver Surfer Black before and not spoil anything for you. However, the Thanos win story is what you want to read.
Yeah, it's not the 2003 whatever that is. I don't think that's called War. That's what you would call it, War of the Gods. I think that's a totally different book.
So it's kind of sad that they're going to do these variant cover. People think like, oh, and then no, what you're actually getting is this. And here's the thing, like this was my jam. Like I was reading Silver Surfer back in the late 80s when Ron Lim and Ron Mars were writing it. I just happen to love Silver Surfer. So I looked at it through rose-colored glasses, but it was pretty mid. Like Ron Mars has never written anything exciting in his life, I don't think. Not that I've ever read. If someone can convince me otherwise, I'm willing to be open. I read it because I like Silver Surfer. It tied in with the Infinity Gauntlet, which is one of the best event books of all time. But it was just mid. And I'm sure if this book is mid, that might be fine for fans too. But I'm at a point in my life where I'm not going to pay for mid, especially when books are $5, $4, and Marvel. But I don't want to dissuade anyone if they're interested. It's got to be better. It's got to be better than a lot of the crap today. Like I guess I can't complain.
Yeah.
If Ron Mars and Ron Lim were good enough in the '80s, they got to be
Yeah.
stellar today.
So, Ron, you're thinking of Justice League Gods and Monsters, which came out in 2003, which totally has nothing to do with Wonder Woman. So, I don't know.
Gentlemen,
Walt Simonson writing would be a good thing. Zach,
it
you're
would
gonna
be a
close
good
us
thing.
down. Do it.
Yeah, I gotta close this down. I'm sorry.
No,
It's
you don't be
2 o'clock
sorry.
over here.
Yep, do it.
Uh, yeah,
How dare you?
it, uh, dude. I'm sorry. I can't stay up all night
Nope,
anymore.
Yeah,
I
you
you
got
do it.
can.
I got a big boy job tomorrow. No, this has been fun as always. Talking about the good comics of the week. Yeah, we'll figure out what comics to go over for next week. I'm sure we'll talk on the Discord or something about that. Yeah, let us know if you're catching this on a replay. I know Ash would appreciate commenting, letting us know what you thought of either Enfield Gang Massacre or Transformers #1. If you liked them, if you didn't like them, all that good stuff. And be sure to check out Geeky Puppet Show, the Geeky Puppet Show channel tomorrow, 8 o'clock Central. We'll be talking about the top 5, or in my case, more likely top 4 and plus 1 of the comics coming out this week. What we think is going to be good, what's going to be worth your
as
paycheck,
well as well as the trades that are coming out too. You can check out.
as well as the trades.
As always, you're looking for awesome trades for awesome deals. In stock trades.
In stock great trades is good. It is, if you want a cheap option, they are a great website. I personally, I like to help out my local comic shop by ordering from them, but
what was the other one? Overstock.
overpriced books.
Overpriced, but yeah.
Overpriced books. Those are both really good. If you're on a budget, I do recommend them.
Oh, especially if you want to get an omnibus, which is it was $150, and you can get it for like $90 over in stock trades.
But if you have the $150, help out your local comic shop and order through them, because they're probably hurting for profit with some of the Marvel DC
Honestly,
books.
I wouldn't be surprised if they're buying from in stock trades and selling them for full price in their shops.
That would be smart.
Yeah, I really would do.
All right. I don't know what else Ash wants me to say. I've already. I think I've gone through everything.
Remember to click like, subscribe,
Yes.
hit that notification bell, and then we'll see you tomorrow at 8 p.m. on Geek Pup Show.
And join us next Monday for whatever books we decide to talk about. And until then, good night, America, and all the ships at sea.